And thank you so much for being here. I could not be more excited about all of the candidates that we have speaking to us tonight. So we have such a full agenda. At this point, we're called to order, and we want to get started right away. And so I'd like Jim Nitopsky to come forth and do our prayer, please, our opening prayer. Can we please have...
Can you hear me?
Can you hear?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Okay.
In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen. My adorable Jesus, may our feet journey together. May our hands gather in unity. May our hearts beat in unison. May our souls be in harmony. May our thoughts be as one. May our ears listen to the silence together. May our glances profoundly penetrate each other. May our lips pray together to gain mercy from the eternal Father. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you very much, Jim. Could Linda Craig please come forward to do our Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And now Diana Beard's going to do the Republican Creed for us.
Good evening. I do not choose to be a common man. It is my right to be uncommon. If I can seek opportunity, not security, I want to take the calculated risk to dream and build, to fall and succeed. I refuse to barter incentive for dole. I prefer the challenges of life to guaranteed security, the thrill of fulfillment to the state calm of utopia. I will not trade freedom for beneficence, nor my dignity for a handout. I will never cower before any master save my God. It is my heritage to stand erect, proud, and unafraid, to think and act for myself, enjoy the benefit of my creations, to face the whole world boldly and say, I am a free American.
Okay, at this point, I'd like to welcome all of our elected officials. We're visiting tonight if you're going to speak to us. So could you please, I see if you're currently an elected official, could you please let us know who you are?
William Timmons, your current congressman.
Yep, wonderful. Stan, I see you, Stan Chivalakis.
Stan Chivalakis, County Council, currently in running for State House.
Okay, wonderful, woo, thank you.
Hobart Lewis, your Greenville County Sheriff.
Wonderful, thank you. Thank you. Right. Wonderful. Any other elected officials? Thank you very much. Oh, there you are, Steve. I missed you. Sorry.
Steve Shaw.
Thank you. Hey.
Steve Shaw, lifelong, real Republican.
Thank you so much. Hopefully I didn't.
One more.
Okay.
Randy Bright, Union County, strong right, conservative, Republican, District 1.
Woo. Well, again, thank you all very much for being here. If you are a veteran, could you please stand? And we, of course, welcome our visitors as well. And if you are a candidate for a non-countywide office, that is, if you're not speaking to us tonight, could you please stand, let us know your name and what office you're running for. And we'll just do it in order. Okay?
Mayor Carver, State Senate, District 6.
Wonderful.
I'm
Woo.
Paul Wickensteimer, Greenville, running for the State House in District 22. I started to say Greenville County Clerk of Court when I retired. Dave Marchionette, running for House District 19.
Thank you. Thank you. I know there's some more out there.
Frank Farmer, County Council, District 22.
Woo! Don't be shy.
Troy Crosser, State House, District 28.
Yeah.
Chris Huff, I am your extremely conservative choice for the State House, District 28. I look forward to carrying on the tradition of Miss Ashley Trent.
Thank you.
Ethan Chetziniak, I'm running for Greenville County Council, District 22. Ethan Chetziniak, County Council 22.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Sarah Curran, I'm running for State House District 20.
You miss anybody? Go ahead.
I'm running for Greenville County Council, District 20.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. Wonderful. Well, thank you, everyone. The state reported that we actually had 604 candidates file across the state. So that I don't know if it's a record, but they were certainly excited about the numbers. So it was wonderful to see the level of interest. So at this time, we are going to start our candidate speeches that we're also excited to hear from. Now, if you looked at your agenda, you saw that we're originally going to start with the congressional races first. We're going to change that a little bit because Adam Morgan is running a bit late, so we're actually going to start with the sheriff races, and then we'll also point out that poor Bryce Garrett has pneumonia, so she will not be with us tonight. So at this point, I would like to, we're going in alphabetical order, so I'm going to ask Mike Fortner to come up and speak with us. Yeah. And then here's a watch right here so you can watch your time, Mike, and then here's, okay, I'm going to get this, I can get it out. Here you go, and it should work. Okay.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Mike Fortner, and I'm running for sheriff for Greenville County. My wife and I have been married for 35 years. We met in Indiana, and about a year after we got married, we moved here to South Carolina in 1990. I had a job at Family Mart grocery store. It was at the corner of Haywood Road and, not Haywood Road, Howell Road and East North Street. And one night while working there, a couple guys came inside the store, and the lady that was working up front got concerned about it. So she called the sheriff's office, and a couple of deputies responded to the store, and they handled the situation. And then afterwards, I got to talking to one of these deputies, and I was telling him about my interest in law enforcement, and he suggested to me to check into the Reserve Deputy Program. So I looked into the Reserve Deputy Program, applied to it, and I got hired on as a Reserve Deputy, and I did that for about 15 months or so. And while doing that, I applied for a full-time position, and I got hired under then Sheriff Johnny Mac Brown in 1993. Started off in uniform patrol, and after about 5 years in uniform patrol, I transferred to criminal investigations. There, I worked in economic crimes. From there, I went to family violence after I got promoted to a master deputy. And then for family violence, I worked in robbery unit and eventually a homicide unit. So I got a pretty varied experience in investigations. Then from there, I went to internal affairs. Did internal affairs for, I don't know, I'm not really sure, maybe about 3 years or 3 years or so. In internal affairs, you conduct investigations on units, divisions, of course, complaints on deputies, as well as work deputy-involved shootings that take place. From the internal affairs, I then moved over to what they call the professional compliance unit, which is the accreditation for the sheriff's office. The sheriff's office holds a dual accreditation through what's called the Commission on the Accreditation of Law Enforcement Agencies, as well as a state level through the South Carolina Law Enforcement Accreditation. So it was my job, along with another deputy and a civilian employee, to see to it that the sheriff's office met all the different standards that it takes to hold on to its accreditation. So from there, I retired about a year and a half ago. This August will be 2 years. So I feel it's my varied experience in law enforcement, the different aspects of it, investigations, uniform patrol, internal affairs, and the accreditation process that makes me a better candidate for sheriff. If you should elect me as your sheriff, what I want to focus on is making the sheriff's office more efficient. By that I mean there are a lot of positions inside the sheriff's office that don't necessarily require a sworn deputy to occupy it. As one person put it to me when I was talking to him, not every position requires a badge and a gun. So what I want to do is evaluate these positions and see which ones maybe we can get away with civilian employees, particularly part-time ones. Don't cost a lot. You don't have to provide the insurance benefits and all that kind of thing. I think it'd be an inexpensive way to kind of beef up the sheriff's office. There's a big untapped resource out there known as retired officers, retired law enforcement officers that probably a lot of them would enjoy coming back maybe on a part-time basis, work a couple days a week. So I think that would be a good way to kind of beef up the sheriff's office. So that's what I want to do, is to make it more efficient so we can address some of these issues that I know all of us have got, whether it be illegal immigration, fentanyl problem, human trafficking, all these type of issues that we have. And if we can free up some extra manpower, I think we could do a better job at addressing those issues. Now, I don't know about you guys, but one of the things that irks me about politicians, in particular Republican ones, is that they don't adhere to the Republican platform. We've all seen that on the local level all the way on up to the national level. I will adhere to that Republican platform. I review it regularly to see what's in it. It's kind of hard to adhere to something if you're not familiar with what's in it. So I review it to see what's in it. I attend Coffee and Politics regularly, although I missed about the last 6 weeks or so due to the campaign and some other things going on at home as far as trying to get open another business that we're trying to get started. So I've been kind of busy with that and missed the last few weeks, about a month and a half, I guess. But I think that's a big part with adhering to the Republican platform as an elected official, is meeting with your local Greenville County leadership, Republican leadership, and make sure that you are and speak with them. Any issues that come up at the sheriff's office, should I be elected as a sheriff, that's a political issue that I got any questions about how to handle it, I have no problems with going to the local GOP leadership and say, hey, what do we need to do here? What would be the proper way to handle this? So I got no problems doing with that. I'm going to read something to you real quick. One day on the way to work one day, I was listening to the Tara show, and I came right in the middle of whatever it was that she was talking about. I don't remember what it was, but she pointed out that if you never read the Federalist Papers, you ought to read the Federalist Papers. So I bought a copy of the Federalist Papers and I read it. It is not easy reading. If you ever read it, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's not easy to read. A lot of big words in there. I had to use my phone to look up words. I learned real quick how limited my vocabulary was. But those of you who don't know, the Federalist Papers were written by Alexander Hamilton, James Madison, and John Jay in 1787. And it was an attempt to sway the people of the state of New York to ratify the Constitution. So they came up with, I don't know, can't remember, I think 84, 85 Federalist Papers total that they wrote. But Federalist Paper number 62, which was written by James Madison, and he's addressing the Senate in it, and they're talking about how many members are going to be in the Senate and how long they'll serve their terms and that kind of thing, how they're selected. And he writes, and I kind of wrote this down so I wouldn't forget it, "It is a misfortune incident to Republican government, though in a less degree than to other governments, that those who administer it may forget their obligations to their constituents and prove unfaithful to their important trust." So even way back in 1787, apparently they were having problems with politicians remembering their constituents. I won't do that. Again, way I won't do that is by attending these GOP meetings, zone meetings. I've had the opportunity to speak at a couple of zone meetings over the last few months or so. That's another way to keep in touch with the constituents. And not to mention, you can feel free to give me a call and come down and see me, meet one-on-one if that's a better way to do it. So thank you very much for coming out tonight. I got a website, votemikefortner.com, a Facebook page, also Vote Mike Fortner, and an Instagram page, Vote Mike Fortner. I made it real simple. I kept it all the same so I wouldn't forget. So thank you all very much for your time, and vote June 11th.
And our next speaker is the Sheriff Hobart Lewis. So thank you very much, Hobart, for being here.
Thank you. First, let me commend Mike for running. It's a countywide seat, nothing easy about it at all. It takes a lot of commitment, takes a lot of funds, takes a lot of support, takes a lot of prayers. So I encourage y'all to pray for everybody who has put themselves on the line to run in this election. It is a very unique time going into the primary. I've been your sheriff for 4 years. 2 weeks ago was my 4-year anniversary after a special election. I took office on March 16th of 2020. Everybody remember that day? First day of COVID. So I got a call from the governor. And the governor called and said, hey, congratulations. By the way, we're going to have to make some changes, shut some things down because of COVID. So shortly after that, mask mandates, vaccines, businesses shutting down. I had my first few weeks in office, I had a number of meetings with business owners who didn't know what to do, whether they owned a barbershop, a hairstylist place, a bar, a restaurant, whatever the case may be. I think it's important to point out that that was a pretty big test. We did not settle for mask mandates. We didn't settle for vaccine mandates when they were brought to the county. The city did. If you went into Greenville City, you had to wear a mask no matter where you were. Our building is in the city. We share that building with Greenville City. So that created some challenges, refusing to enforce a mask mandate or a vaccine mandate. We were not going that route. We were not going to ask for people's papers and cards and all those things. So as you go from March to the end of June, we have George Floyd. We have about 7 protests over a week and a half, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people in Greenville. Myself and Chief Thompson from Greenville City. You probably saw us on the news dealing with various things. I'm proud to say we did not have one window broken, one trash can turned over, nothing set on fire. And that is just a piece of having people work together from the city and the county, different municipalities. We also helped the city of Greer out when they had a protest, various other places. So as we get through the George Floyd era, July the 4th, we have the largest nightclub shooting at the time. 12 people were shot at Lavish Lounge on the night of July the 4th. We got out there, made an arrest fairly quickly. Deputies responded well, shut everything down. It was an active shooter situation between some gang members, very confusing at the time, but it made national headlines. Proud to say the men and women who served this community did very well with that. As we get in toward the end of the year, going to October, I was still, if you remember, I had to run 4 or 5 times that year. So we were getting ready for that and had a deputy killed in the line of duty. Did not see that one coming. Dealt with a lot of things for the first 9 months in office, but that was certainly a different kind of shock. And got through that and still deal with that on a department-wide basis. If you look, we have 558 deputies, positions that serve this community. When I came into office in March, we had 56 vacancies. I got 20 with the new budget. I had 76 openings out of those 558. Today, this morning, I got 23 vacancies. We've done a great job recruiting even through COVID. The academy was shut down. We found a way to recruit people from different departments, different states, to bring them in, train them here, to staff the Greenville County Sheriff's Office so that you get the service you have. That was very difficult, but the credit goes to the people who work in recruiting. Our best tool is the deputies who go out here, work every day, and represent us so well and hang it all on the line. They do a tremendous job. I know, people, and I'm just happen to be fortunate enough to be in charge of that. Really, they do the work, so all the credit goes to them. The budget for the sheriff's office is about $62 million. I think from a county standpoint, we can't do anything about that. You cannot misuse that money. It does not. I don't write checks. I don't sign checks. A lot of people have asked me questions about that and how we kind of work that out. That comes from county council. It comes from the county administrator. I know a lot of people take a lot of heat for different things on the county level. Pay attention to what goes on. The county administrator is where the information comes from. And that's all I'll say about that. So that's where that is. But having said that, we got a $61 million budget. We, again, have 23 vacancies. That's a really big deal when you add up 558 certified positions on top of more than 140-plus civilian positions that are always full. Mike brought up a point about using civilians, retired officers, part-time positions. That honestly, that's his opinion. We don't have part-time positions at the sheriff's office. We do have a small handful in the civilian market. We don't have them in the certified position because you have to be able to obtain a warrant. You have to be able to put handcuffs on people. That takes a full-time certified position. That's just the way that is. I will tell Mike Fortner this. There's a lot of things I didn't know when I took office. I didn't find out until I did take office. So that's not to discredit him. Running for office and actually being in office was two way different things for me. A very eye-opening experience. So you have a great sheriff's office. Again, they serve you very well. It has been a true honor of mine to be the sheriff of Greenville County, and it's because of you. That would not have happened. We went through a very tough race in 2020. It's a special election. We had to finish out 9 months of a term that was vacated because of some criminal charges and some other things. So very fortunate, if I live to December, to have served 4 years and 9 months as your sheriff. I hope you'll give me an opportunity to do another 4 years as your sheriff. We have a good thing going. We really do. We got a lot of great people. Crime is down. It's down nationwide in a lot of categories. I can tell you in 2022, we had 27 homicides. Last year, we had 16. We have solved every one of those. Not many people across the country can say we have a 100% clearance rate on homicides. Missing persons, we run about 120 missing persons a year. That's from juveniles to Alzheimer's patients, you name it. We have a lot of them. For the last 3 years, we have found 100% of those people. And we found them, we found them because we changed how we respond to missing persons. Used to, myself and Mike Fortner, when we worked at the sheriff's office on the road, you call and say somebody's missing. We simply take a report, put them in NCIC, and hope somebody finds them and calls us. We'll go get them. When I got there, I try to treat every call like it was a member of my family that may be missing or may have been murdered or whatever the case may be. If my mom goes missing, and I'm sure if she was, we would hear her from somewhere. She's not going to go far. But if she did go missing, I want to make sure a deputy responds out there, talks to my family, and starts looking for my mother. And we started doing that right away. And that's the only reason why we can say we have found 100% of those people for 3 years. That's a really big deal. Anybody remember the Edna Suttles case? It's on Dateline and all that, serial killer. She was missing, and because we sent a deputy out there to find out what was going on with her, we found her car. It led us to a guy named Daniel Prince shortly thereafter, and found out he had killed 4 other ladies across the southeast. Very, very strange case, but because we responded the way we did, we were able to put that serial killer in federal prison and bring some closure to the family. I mean, it's again, back in the 10 years ago, we would have simply taken a report, put her in NCIC. So a lot of things have changed at the sheriff's office. We do a much better job than we used to. You, the public, demands that of us, and that's exactly what we're going to do, and I want to continue to do. So I would ask you for your vote June the 11th in the primary for Sheriff Hobart Lewis. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. We really appreciate that, Sheriff candidates. And now we're going to continue down our agenda. So I'd like to ask, because Bryce is not here again, she has pneumonia, I'd like to ask Jay to come, Mr. Gray, Assistant Prosecutor, Mr. Jay Gresham. And that's with an E, not an I. Thank you.
That'll be my cousin, the author. Thank y'all for having me here tonight. As you heard, I'm Jay Gresham, and I'm honored to be running as your next clerk of court. And before I get into why I'm running for clerk of court, I wanted to give you a brief rundown of my background, both personally and professionally. I'm a Greenville County native. I hail from the dark corner, just like Councilman Joe Deal here. I love calling it the dark corner in honor of my late beloved godfather, Squire Dean Campbell, who was our beloved historian. So I was raised on a small apple orchard farm at the base of Glassy Mountain, where my mom, Kathleen Jennings, raised Clydesdale horses. And my mom, very glad she's here tonight, but she was the first woman prosecutor in the upstate of South Carolina. So ironically, she held the same position that I do, except under my boss, Solicitor Walt Wilkins' father, Judge Billy Wilkins, when he was our elected solicitor back in the 1970s and 80s. And then my late father, Steve Gresham, he was a lieutenant colonel in the United States Air Force. And he also, in his second career, he served as the administrator of Greenville Memorial Hospital, actually the cancer center, in his second career when it was Greenville Health System. And my grandfather, Harold Jennings, he was Greenville's longest-serving police chief, having served our community for over 40 years. And then his father, my great-grandfather, was also police chief of Greenville and Fountain Inn, so all from the 1920s to 1950s. So you can imagine he saw a lot in his own career. So, and they're both inducted in the South Carolina Law Enforcement Hall of Fame for their service to South Carolina. I'm very proud of that. So you can see I had no choice in my career path. The law and law enforcement mean a lot to me. They run deep in me. So my blood truly runs blue. Rachel, my girlfriend, I'm glad she's here. She means the world to me. She's one of my biggest supporters. She's very impressive. So I hope everyone gets a chance to meet her before everyone leaves tonight. She went to Wofford and MUSC and is a pharmacist at Prisma. I worship at Christ Church Episcopal. Also graduated from Christ Church Episcopal School. And after Christ Church Episcopal School, I went on to attend the Citadel in Charleston, where go Dogs! Where I served as editor-in-chief of the Brigadier, our campus newspaper, and I also commanded over 100 men and women at the age of 22. So I've been managing people for a long time. I graduated honors from the Citadel with 2 degrees, and then I went on to attend the University of Wyoming College of Law, where I earned my Juris Doctor degree. And then after I graduated with my law degree, and after I passed the bar, first time, wasn't like Michelle Obama or Hillary Clinton, it's a Democrat thing. I became a licensed attorney in 4 states, South Carolina, North Carolina, Wyoming, and Montana, but South Carolina means the most. And then after law school, I came back home and I clerked for one of our longtime circuit court judges, Ned Miller. He gave me the nickname Cowboy for my cowboy boot wearing. You can't see it, but I got my cowboy boots on now. Told him it was a Southern thing too, but he wouldn't listen. Then I went on to my current position as assistant solicitor under Walt Wilkins. And as a prosecutor, I've prosecuted every case imaginable, from murder, robbery, reckless homicide, hit and run, burglary, drug trafficking, to DUI. You name the crime, I've prosecuted it. And about a week ago, and you may have seen this on the news, I prosecuted a defendant for hit and run with death and another one for burglary. And fortunately, we'll be safe from them for decades. So you see, so, I swear, we need to build more prisons. So you see, I'm no stranger to the courtroom. I know the courts and the legal system personally and professionally. There will be no necessary on-the-job training when I'm your clerk of court, and that's what distinguishes me from my opponent. And my opponent, she's not here tonight, but she apparently believes the clerk's office doesn't need overhauling. She wants to maintain the status quo, and I firmly disagree. I've seen how our clerk's office has fallen in modern capabilities in comparison to certain counties, a lot of counties within South Carolina. I've spoken to clerks of court from around our state, and I've learned how their clerk's offices are more advanced in certain aspects than we are in Greenville. And that's sad to me. We should lead the way on all fronts all the time. The arbitrary bureaucratic red tape that our current clerk's office imposes on the general public and my fellow practicing attorneys has not helped the situation. Our court system is hard enough to navigate for the average citizen, and it doesn't need to be made more difficult by bureaucracy, inefficient practices, or by leadership that has no legal experience. I've seen and heard how our clerk's office has failed in recent months, and these are serious. To name a few, not properly summoning jurors for a general sessions, also known as a criminal court term, which frankly is a violation of statutorily imposed duties. And 2, at times failing to staff courtrooms with deputies, clerks of court. And 3, not timely filing court orders. Now, you may think these mishaps are minor, but they're not. They're major breakdowns of our justice system. And not to mention, they're an abuse of our tax monies. And they have impacted many along the way, including victims and their families who deserved justice and resolution. As my criminal procedure professor often used to say, and I believe this was a British Prime Minister actually said it, but justice delayed is justice denied, and that's what's happening in Greenville County. Greenville County needs and expects more of its public servants, and that's why I'm running for clerk of court. I will use my earned professional knowledge and my legal education to reform and modernize our clerk's office. I will eliminate the red tape, and I will bring no-nonsense accountability to the office, which it desperately needs. As I said, too, the clerk's office needs to modernize, especially with technology, new platforms for record access, fine and fee payments, which I think are essential with the rampant changes that Greenville County is currently experiencing in terms of its population growth, as well as the new judicial mandates which have been passed down to us by our Supreme Court. And this is where I differ, of course, with my opponent. Putting a new TV on a courthouse wall or putting fluffy cushions on courtroom chairs, that's not enough. That's not modern advancement. And she also says these advancements are not possible without approval of court administration. Well, lucky enough for me, I built relationships with court administration in Columbia when I served as judicial law clerk. So I know a little bit about it. And you can also tell that to Julie Armstrong, Charleston's Republican clerk of court, who has passed these new advancements in clerk's offices in Charleston, and I'm going to do that here. So it's my position that if you haven't challenged the status quo, you really haven't led, and I am going to do that. The clerk of court is statutorily also tasked with maintaining an open, safe courthouse, which is another aspect that needs great attention in Greenville and has prompted my run for clerk of court. For instance, the security at the Greenville County Courthouse needs to be revamped from top to bottom. We have security cameras, just this issue alone. We have security cameras which are 25 plus years old, and there are areas that are not even being properly monitored. Well, and also, this is a big one, the elevators used to transport inmates when they are brought over from the detention center to the courthouse in the Sallyport and transport them up to the elevator for court, they don't work. And that alone has caused logistical nightmares for judges, deputies, and many others. And also, one of my colleagues, this is not even an inmate transport elevator, got stuck in another elevator which required the fire department to come let her out. It's a huge embarrassment. Now, these security and maintenance issues have been placed on the back burner by previous clerk of court administrations and the current administration, but they'll be one of my main focuses. The public must be protected, especially at court, which I consider to be one of the bedrock foundations of our country. Now, listen to this. With a 2-year budget of $9.7 million, of what the clerk's office has, $9.7 million, one would think that these security and maintenance issues wouldn't exist, but yet they exist. And if my opponent was here, I'm sure she would say, have control of that. It's the responsibility of the sheriff's office to maintain security of the courthouse. Now, the sheriff's office does a fine job, but the clerk of court has a duty to help the clerk's office help us. And I will closely work with Hobart Lewis, or whoever is elected sheriff, Mr. Fortner, to assess the vulnerabilities that we have at the clerk's office, as well as the courthouse. And then we're going to implement new, robust measures. I've built professional relationships during my time as a prosecutor and a judicial law clerk. I have a strong relationship with my boss, Solicitor Walt Wilkins, whom the clerk of court is statutorily required to work with in transmitting arrest warrants for prosecution purposes. I also have strong relationships with the Public Defender's Office, which is also an important institution of our justice system. Now, I've tried cases before juries with some of their attorneys. I know our local judges, members of law enforcement, Sheriff Lewis, who the clerk of court administers the oath of office. I have strong working relationships with members of our Greenville County Bar, who the clerk's office serves alongside our fellow citizens. I'll strengthen these relationships when I'm clerk of court to ensure greater efficiency and responsiveness to the public. My energy and strong work ethic will lead the clerk's office to new milestones. I will not fail in my duties. These duties as clerk of court, they're this thick. I could go into them, but I don't want to put you to sleep. But suffice it to say, the clerk's office duties are far-reaching. I dare say they're going to impact you and your family at some point in your lives. The clerk of court is a constitutional legal office, and it requires a legal brain. I'm a lifelong conservative, and I believe the clerk's office needs bold, new conservative leadership that has the legal training, integrity, and resources befitting of the office. Education and professional experience matter. And full disclosure is also important to me, and I'm sure it is to you. I have no skeletons in my closet. We don't need more politicians. Thank you. We don't need more politicians or placeholders in government. We need real civil servants, and I will be the civil servant that the clerk's office needs. And on a final note, and as you've heard me say, I've been a lifelong conservative. Councilman Dill can attest to that. He's known me since I was about knee-high. I firmly believe in the GOP platform, and I will do all I can to support it as clerk of court. Thank you all.
Well, thank you very much. Really appreciate the hearing from our candidate for clerk of court. We're going to continue down the list because I still don't think Adam is here yet. Is that right? Okay, yes, so we will continue. So I'd like to ask Mr. Dale Arterburn. Where are you, Dale? There you are, yes. So he's a candidate for Greenville County Coroner. You don't have to push anything.
Good evening, Dale Arterburn. I am your current candidate for Greenville County Coroner for this year. I have spent the last 27 and a half years with Greer Police Department, but I'm going to take you back before I even got to the Greer Police Department. I moved from Ohio in 1992. My dad's job was transferred to the Michelin headquarters here in Greenville. Brought our family with us. I was able to go ahead and finish my senior year at Malden High School. Upon graduation, I entered the National Guard, Army National Guard, fulfilled a 6-year obligation as a Stinger missile specialist. Further after that, I was able to obtain my 2-year degree in criminal justice. Upon graduation, I was hired by the Greer Police Department. Prior to that, I'd already spent 2 years as a cadet with both the Greenville County Sheriff's Office and the Malden Police Department. Furthermore, upon being hired by Greer PD, I spent 6 years on the patrol, in uniform patrol, training other officers. I had then gone ahead and moved on to an honor guard division, where I was a specialty division, where I was able to go ahead and share time on dignitary protections and funeral processions. Also joined the SWAT team, spent 9 years in a specialized unit as a tactical operator. After 7 and a half, 8 years on that tactical unit, I was promoted up to detective, where I've spent the last 22 years investigating violent crime, death, sexual assaults, robberies, burglaries, fully trained in about 3,000 plus hours of advanced training, and probably responded to well over 300 deaths. Being where Greer sits, 2 jurisdictions, Spartanburg County and Greenville County. So I've worked with both different of the jurisdictions of both county coroners' offices. So I've never responded to a scene with my opponent, nor have I ever responded to a scene with Parks Evans, nor have I responded to a scene with Rusty Clevenger or Jim Burnett, if you remember who that was. So at that point, we responded mostly with the other coroner, deputy coroners, and I've worked with quite a few of those over the last 22 and a half years working death. To give you my position on what needs to be done at the coroner's office, I'm going to tell you, we need to move into a modern era of investigating death, preventing deaths. We have child deaths. We have fentanyl, which is a major, major issue. It's a nationwide crisis. We have children that are taking fentanyl by mistake, pill presses. They are also taking fentanyl by accident. We were also moving into distracted driving. We have all kinds of things that weren't going on 30 years ago when Parks Evans was the coroner. They didn't have cell phones. They weren't driving around distracted behind the wheel. So that's taking place. We need to go ahead and educate these children. To uphold the GOP platform. I believe in everything that's been said here tonight. I'm also going to make sure that I am a seen and heard coroner within the county of Greenville County. You will see me. I promise you that if you give me your vote. I've been seen and I've responded to many other places around the city of Greer for the last 27 and a half years. They know me by name. They know me in Spartanburg. They know me in Malden. I've assisted many of these agencies. So you will see me out in your schools. You will see me out at your businesses. I will be seen and not just heard. That's all I've got to say, but thank you very much for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Oh, and now Mr. Mike Ellis, who's currently Chief Deputy Coroner and a candidate for coroner. Because her name is Yvonne. Thank you.
Thank you so much. While we're talking about my lovely wife, I'll tell you how I arrived at making my final decision to run for coroner. Because Parks Evans, I've worked for him for 28 years. He told me a few years ago he was going home. He was going to get some well-deserved rest. So Mike, make up your mind what you're going to do. I went and talked to our deputy coroners. We've got 18 deputy coroners now and 3 admins. When I started, we had 2.5 deputy coroners and 1 admin. Greenville has grown in leaps and bounds. We were working 600-700 cases a year. Year before last, we worked over 7,000 cases in Greenville County. Back to my wife. I talked to our deputy coroners. I said, what do you want me to do? They said, Mike, you've ran this office for quite a few years. It'll be such a simple transition period for you to transfer over and take Parks' position. I said, wait a minute. Nobody will ever take Parks Evans' position. And you'll see what I have to tell you tonight. There'll be very few changes that I'll make if I become your coroner. Now, I will make some, because after 28 years, I've had some thoughts of my own, even if they were bad. But my wife, I went home. Her name is Anna Yvonne Simmons Ellis. She works for 3 judges. And there's a rule called the Canons 5 rule that prevents my wife from getting involved in political events. Now, there's a fine line to where she can or where she can't, but she'd rather not have any problem, so I go home and discuss this with her. I can do that at home. She said, Mike, we've been married 46 years. I'm married 47 now. She said, we've been married 46 years. We probably spent less than 48 hours together in the same place at the same time because of our 2 jobs. She said, if you retire or not run for coroner, we won't spend 48 more days married. So you go right back and you run for coroner. And that, bottom line, that and the people in the Greenville County Coroner's Office and the citizens of Greenville County is what made my decision for me. I mean, I don't mind telling you. A little bit about our office. Like I say, we have a medical legal death investigation office. We have so many highly trained deputy coroners in our office now. I have 1 board-certified forensic anthropologist. She's a bone girl, that's what we call her. We have 3 certified forensic technicians that come from our forensic division who are deputy coroners now. I have 3 certified drone pilots. And not only do they serve the citizens of Greenville County, they serve the citizens of other counties. They go to Lawrence, Anderson, Spartanburg, any other coroner's office, law enforcement office, fire department that needs our services, whether it not be death investigation or not, we send them. And that's because of the type of professionals that we have in our office. Myself, I am a certified medical legal death investigator from ABMDI. That's American Board of Medical Legal Death Investigations. Oh, yeah. She hold it closer. I passed the board of ABMDI back in 2005. I was the 257th person to pass it. There's thousands now. Parks Evans was the 258th person, so I passed it before he did. Now, I will tell you, we were taking it at the same time at SLED, and he finished way before I did, which scared me to death. They just give me mine for alphabetical order, I guess. But I am a certified medical legal death investigator. Our office itself is accredited by International Association of Coroner and Medical Examiners. That is the accreditation that we worked 7 years to get. Parks Evans started it 8 years ago. Shelton, England, who's at the back door there trying to sneak out, he come in after that and took the bull by the horns, and our office got accredited. One of the things that is real important about being an accredited medical legal death investigator office is when you go to court. There's very few accreditations that a death investigator can have because we don't go to the academy like law enforcement for 13 weeks, 17 weeks. We do go to the academy. We can be a level 3 officer. We can't be a level 1 officer. But we are medical legal death investigators. We're trained in medical and legal, and that is extremely, extremely important in today's time. Now, I'll tell you about our law enforcement people we have. We have, in my opinion, the best of the best. Highway Patrol, City Police, Sheriff's Office, Forensic Division. In my opinion, we have the best of the best out there. But your coroner's office is second to none. Charleston, I've taught death investigation for 20 years at the Criminal Justice Academy. I taught death investigation at the South Carolina Coroner Association. I've probably put together at least 4 years of schools for law enforcement, fire departments, EMS, law enforcement, and taught those classes at the Criminal Justice Academy. So I am a certified teacher at the Criminal Justice Academy. We have a lot of great people, but sitting in here tonight, I've had multiple people come to me and tell me about our investigators that's worked their family cases. And they've not said anything about the cause and manner of death, which is extremely important. What they've told us is how they were treated, how our deputy coroners console them, how our deputy coroners come back and talk to them after that. And I don't mind telling you, I got this crazy paper over here I was going to read you stuff off of, but I don't have to read it to you. I've done it for 28 years. I'm extremely proud of the people that we have in the Greenville County Coroner's Office. They make myself and Coroner Evans look good every day. Now, I am a working coroner, and all you got to do is turn on the news, and you'll see me periodically. But I do nothing like my deputy coroners do. I could not walk in their footsteps anymore. But 28 years ago, I could have done as much as any of them can do and could still do it. Now I make sure I manage them. Now, not saying anything against anybody, anything like that, but I started my career in the Greenville County Coroner's Office 28 years ago. I've never had any reason to want to go anywhere else. I wanted to start my career there, and I want to finish my career there. And if God willing, and the citizens of Greenville County sees fit to keep me there, I promise you, the coroner's office will only grow in leaps and bounds in investigative techniques. We have the most state-of-the-art system of anybody I know in this state. And again, Shelton, England was instrumental in getting that taken care of. We are now helping other coroner's offices in this state set the same type of system we have up. We have state-of-the-art everything. We have what's called an open door policy. I'm so proud of our open door policy because we're the only agency that I know that if you want to intern in our office, if you want to ride along in our office, if you want to cross-train in our office, if you want to see exactly what a coroner does, we open that door. Now, you don't have to do it all. You can do anything you want to do. We'll take you from the time we get the 911 call until the time the prosecution starts. You can go to the autopsies with us. You can go to the crime scene with us. You can participate as long as it don't jeopardize the integrity of the crime scene. So if you have anybody interested in this line of work, you send them to the Greenville County Coroner's Office. I've had 2 today that got Christy Strange. She runs that program for us, to have their family call Christy Strange today because they want to get in the medical field. And they want to start in the coroner's office. And I think that's great. I truly appreciate the opportunity to talk to you. I'm, like I say, I've worked death for 28 years. I've worked deaths in all, there's 6 municipalities now: Malden, Simpsonville, Fountain Inn, Greer, Travelers Rest. I've worked with every agency that you can imagine. I've worked with every officer that you can imagine. Oh my God. I'm done. Hey, you stay right here with me, sir, and you don't go anywhere. Well, I'm done.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Oh. Thank you very much, Mike. And I know Adam is here now, so last but certainly not least, we're very happy to have our 2 candidates for congressman here. So we're going to start alphabetical order with Adam Morgan, who just came from an event, so so be kind. Yeah, but that's, yeah. And then here's if you need a timer.
Well, thank you all. Is this on? Thank you all so much for coming tonight. I have had an epiphany about political events. In years past, you know, when I first got involved in politics, they felt like you would just go and hear another speech, and we'd kind of all say, okay. But now, after my 6 years of serving in the State House, and especially our fight on the Freedom Caucus, I feel totally differently, because when we come to events like this, I feel like it's like a group of, you know, our camaraderie, the battle-worn people who have fought for our values and have actually been winning. Charlie James has started keeping a tab of the bills, the bad bills that we've been able to kill, and some of the great legislation we've been able to pass. And it's just an exciting time to be in politics. And you know, recently somebody was like, doesn't it get you down, like the place of our country and the problems that we've got and the weakness of our own party and the absolute craziness of the left? And I sit there and go, I don't have time to be depressed and write this country off, because I got 3 little babies who want me to fight for their values and make sure that I protect the blessings that I have had in this nation. So I have my wife's back in the back with me. I just saw my mother-in-law made it out. We run a Christian music publishing company called Majesty Music. We do a kids program called Patch the Pirate that it's an honor for me to do. I am a recovering lawyer. I joke that I served for part of a year, and then my father-in-law got dementia. And he had a many years long battle. His name was Ron Hamilton. And my mother-in-law, and he asked my wife and I if we would consider taking over their family business and ministry. And we prayed about it and talked about it, and we decided to do it, and we've done it for 8 years. And recently, my opponent's campaign manager actually attacked me for doing that and mocked the fact that we do this kids program, and we even dress in costumes for the kids. And the program shares the gospel of Jesus Christ, and it has since 1970. And I thought when I read that quote in the newspaper of like attacking me, I had this moment of just like frustration and even anger, like how dare you, we're in the year, we're 1 year from the time that he just passed. And then I was like, you know what? That is one of the proudest things that I do, is run a family business with my mother-in-law, with my wife, doing a kids ministry that teaches people about Jesus Christ. And I'm so proud of it. I love it. Look it up. You can see we do wear costumes, and it's wonderful. And the future of our families and our faith communities and our freedoms, like, they're so vitally important, and they're worth contending and fighting for. The other thing that I'm very proud of doing is serving as the chairman of the South Carolina Freedom Caucus, because I can tell you, we have had For the first time in South Carolina politics, a robust conservative offense, we are finally beating the radical left, beating squished rhino Republicans who switch parties and don't hold anyone's values, and actually beating the lobbyists and special interest groups who have had a stranglehold over this state and over D.C. for far too long. I've declared war on them. I've been beating them to the tune that they have spent over $1 million in attack ads against Freedom Caucus members across this state, trying to silence us and get rid of us. And recently, a video clip of me went viral. It has 35 million views, thanks to Charlie Kirk and Matt Gaetz and Dan Bongino and many others. And that clip, if those of you that didn't see it, you should look it up. It's a year old, long before I ever thought about Congress. It was 35 minutes into a long debate of whether we should spend $1.3 billion of taxpayer money giving it to an electric vehicle company. $400 million was taxpayer cash. And I got up at that well, and I went off at the fact that special interest was attacking Freedom Caucus members for daring to even vote and have a difference of opinion on that bill. And a Democrat, the lead Democrat, stood up and he said, "You're telling me that we should listen to the folks back home over the experts in the Commerce Department?" And I just, everything wrong with politics, the world got to see right then and there. And I got to push back and say, actually, I will always fall back on the wisdom of the common sense people in Taylor's and Greenville Eastside that I represent far more than I will ever listen to a lobbyist or a multi-billion-dollar corporation or other members. And you know, I'm running for Congress because it's about time we had a strong conservative voice at that level, speaking and fighting at every level. In D.C., fighting here in the county when they're hiking our taxes, fighting for Greenville schools when they're wasting your money on DEI, fighting, making sure that the state isn't wasting your money. I'm going to do that with the platform if you send me to Washington. I'm going to use that big platform that they have, the bully pulpit, like I have at the state level, and we're going to see this state fundamentally change because the rhinos have been in control for too long. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of being the last on every issue. We're changing it, but now it's time to really kick it into high gear. I've jumped into this race. I have an opponent who's served for 6 years. It's hard to think of one thing that he's accomplished, and other than voting to give illegal immigrants welfare. After Heritage clearly said, this is what this bill does. You're giving it to nonprofits. You're going to literally incentivize them to come here. He took a picture at the photo op at the border, sent an attack text about me, and then flew to Washington and voted to give illegal immigrants welfare. This same incumbent went viral before I did for DEI, pushing it. In 2021, saying, I have secured funding for this office and am proud to say that it's now permanent. And he's backtracked and said, oh, well, it wasn't diversity. It wasn't like what you're thinking. But go see the track. I believe we brought the transcript if you'd like a copy of it. Then he goes on to say that we need to make all of our hiring decisions in Congress. We need to make sure that there's proportional representation in our hiring for congressional staff based on race, gender, and lifestyle. Ladies and gentlemen, a conservative actually voicing that. I mean, it's ludicrous. We need somebody who actually knows our values, who will fight for them and reflect. They don't have to be taught what DEI is and why it's bad, and whoops, I didn't mean to fund it. Like, we actually on the budget fought to defund it totally last year. Republicans voted it down. We hounded them. Well, guess what? We just passed a bill to end the discriminatory DEI practices in South Carolina. Every Republican voted for it. And I want to speak to something. Because, you know, they've been throwing all these goofy attack ads. I love attack ads. My people in District 20, you all get them all the time. I get the text. They say, every attack ad I get, it just juices me up because I know you're doing something and you're actually fighting. So keep sending them. You know, these incumbents who have been down there refuse to join the Freedom Caucus, refuse to join the Family Caucus, and then go on Charlie James and the whole bit in talking to one about these budget bills, rambles about how the conservatives who were fighting, they're the problem with politics, right? Our polarization. Are you joking? No, it's because we have weak Republicans who just passed that CR funding late-term abortions and transgender surgeries on minors and funding the invasion. We need people of courage who recognize that who you align yourself with, that is how you stay on the straight and narrow. Iron sharpens iron. I'm going to join the Freedom Caucus day one. I started it in South Carolina. I'm going to join the Family Caucus day one. It's been why I've been endorsed by the chair of the Family Caucus and the Freedom Caucus. And you know what? We have too much at stake. We don't need more pessimism. We don't need more excuses for why nothing can get done. And we surely don't need people who are bought and paid for by special interest, who think that they're entitled to a seat because they bought it. Well, you know what? I'm going to the people. And I'm getting donations from all over this district, conservatives who are ready to put their money and their time and their mouth where their values are, and elect somebody who is on fire for you, who listens and will fight for on the floor where the world got to see, fight for you and be your voice. We don't need do-nothing Republicans. We need strong conservative warriors now more than ever. My kids' futures are on the line. Your kids' futures are on the line. Their grandkids. We have a wonderful, amazing country. It's still amazing. It still has a bright future if we can keep it. And I know I'm preaching to the choir because all of you in here are the ones who respond to the call to actions, and you make the phone calls and you hold your elected officials accountable. So I am so grateful for all the work that each of you do. Whether we agree on every issue or not, but you take the time to get informed and to fight and contend. And in your districts, pay attention in this next election. June 11th, I believe it is one of the most important, if not the most important election in our lifetimes for the future of South Carolina. Are you going to let the crony forces in leadership that have literally gotten people to run against Freedom Caucus members, given them $50,000, are you going to let them end the conservative movement? Are you going to let us continue to elect Republicans who endorse Lindsey Graham and who are funded by special interests? And no, it's time for us to wake up. Wake up, Greenville. Wake up, Spartanburg. And let's actually change this state. No, not the talk, not the show up, when it comes election time, not the spending $800,000 of your taxpayer money on mailers and robocalls. You notice you've heard a lot from our incumbent lately because it's election time. Did you know it was on your dime? Look at who paid for all that. Who paid for the billboards? Who paid for the social media ads? $800,000 of your taxpayer cash when we are $34 trillion in debt, and then has the gall to say he's a fiscal conservative. That's insane. I'm not going to use your tax money to campaign. Because guess what? I'm actually going to raise it from in-district and fight for the people's values. Yes. Right. We need fiscal conservatism. We need family values. My caucus, we found out that there was a pediatric transgender clinic funded by your tax dollars. The Republican caucus did nothing. They didn't want to touch it. They didn't want to tick off the medical community. So I sent a FOIA and said, give me all the info of what these kids are, 4 years old to 16, who they are and what you did to them. And I'm going to give it to the media. And they said, yeah, we're not going to give you that. You can't. I said, I'll sue you. It's a FOIA, and I can do that. I happen to know how to do that. They shut the clinic down the next day. It is no longer in operation. Recently, everybody's all hyped up on the border, and people keep saying, oh, Freedom Caucus members, they're obstructionists. They can't get anything done. Well, guess what? I filed a bill to end squatters' rights in South Carolina. But this is the best part. Over half of the House of Representatives co-sponsored that legislation with me, including a couple Democrats. You know why? Because it's right. Because it's a serious issue. Because it's time to get people who can build coalitions. When I got there were 2-3 conservatives who were actually stepping out, sticking their neck out there, fighting the good fight. Then it grew to 8. Then we formed our strategy session in our group that met every single week, meeting and strategizing, working against House leadership who are quote-unquote Republican, meeting every single week, figuring out how to beat him. I got intimately involved in the elections last cycle, helping candidates, working with them, spending hours at night trying to help them beat members. And guess what? We grew to where we have 18 members now, and we have 35 challengers who have filed across this state to join the South Carolina Freedom Caucus. That is the state of the conservative movement under my tenure. And I am so proud. The endorsements that matter most to me are the endorsements from the people. First and foremost, my constituents from District 20, a lot of you are in this room, who took a chance on a 20-something-year-old kid who knocked on 4,000 doors and said, I'm going to go shake things up and fight for our values. Those are the endorsements that matter the most. Second, the people who have been in the trenches with me. My fellow South Carolina Freedom Caucus members, Josiah Magnuson, Ashley Trantham, my brother Alan Morgan, I guess he kind of had to, Rob Harris, Thomas Beach, and on and on. They fought with me, they know my record, and they said, I'm all in with that guy. Our sheriff, Hobart Lewis, who's a local rock star, and I'm very proud to have that one. And a lot of the patriots in this room. A lot of people like Harrison, who I fought with on all sorts of issues and helping us get the message out. And people like Jennifer Black, who's in the back. And a whole host of people from the Patriot Caucus and from Greenville County GOP and all sorts of different groups who are aligned. Yeah, we fight. Yeah, we have disagreements. You know why? Because we're Republicans. We actually think for ourselves. But guess what? When it matters, when the issues matter, when we can align, we can fight together. Because we have a country worth saving, and it's time to save this wonderful country. Send me to Congress, and I'll fight for you every single day. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Oh, no problem. That's great. Thank you. Okay. Now I'd like to ask Congressman William Timmons to come forward, please. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And then here's mine.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Good evening. It is great to be with you all tonight. Thank you so much for coming out. That was the first time I've actually heard that in person. It was full of lies, and your record is one of being ineffective. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give my speech, and I'm going to let the truth be out there, because you can't continue to allege things have been accomplished by you and your group when you're the biggest impediment to succeeding conservative issues in South Carolina. Hey, look. So my time as a prosecutor taught me that you got to tell the jury what you're going to tell them before you tell them. And my time as an Air Force officer, we used bluff, bottom line up front, when you're briefing a commander or other airmen. So I'm going to keep this simple. We're going to talk about my record, the actual record, not the one that is being misrepresented and lied about. We're going to talk about the campaign, which we'll get into some of these issues. And most importantly, we're going to talk about the future of this country. So first, my record. Look, there's groups that have been around for decades. Heritage, Club for Growth. You know all these groups. They rate members of Congress. I have a 100% from Heritage this Congress. I have a 95% lifetime. Club for Growth, 97%. FreedomWorks, 100%. Are these the voting records of a rhino, of somebody that supports these things that he's saying? It's just not true. And if that's not enough, let's go to accomplishments. I passed a bill that's going to save billions and billions of taxpayer dollars by forcing the executive branch to adopt the Governor Accountability Office recommendations. I did that. That's legislation that I literally came up with the idea on my own as a result of the Modernization Committee. I then passed it into law, and Joe Biden signed it. So you know what that shows? That shows you that I am effective in a minority. He's passed one bill in 6 years, and that was to force buses and 18-wheelers to stop at stop signs. 6 years, one bill. Let's go to this. I passed a bill to hold China accountable. Huawei is the Chinese version of Verizon Wireless. The Chinese were giving away next-generation wireless technology to developing countries. Anybody take it? I passed a bill that literally halted Huawei's expansion of 5G in developing countries. Again, hold on, let's go over this. Minority. I'm not even on armed services. I got that bill into the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act, while in the minority. Again, Joe Biden signed it. Because I can legislate and I can get things done, even though I'm in the minority. He flails about in Columbia screaming and yelling about ridiculous policies that, by the way, every single person in this room benefits from BMW being in the upstate. Every single person. We would not be where we are today. And the fact that he's going to sit here and say, ooh, I yelled and screamed about Scout Motors. If that position that he took, that he's so proud of, is a position that Carol Campbell, our governor, took 35 years ago, 100,000 jobs would be gone. We would still be struggling after the textile industry left. So don't sit here and literally, like, you flail about saying these ridiculous policies that would destroy our economy if that was what our forefathers thought about. So, look, I don't know the details of the Scout deal, but I can promise you this. South Carolina leaders 35 years ago did the right thing to incentivize BMW to come here. And we have literally 15,000 direct jobs, 45,000 jobs for their suppliers. Their economic impact is $35 billion in the last 35 years. This is insanity. The thought that we would not compete to get businesses to invest here is wrong. It is wrong. Look, the best part of this job, I'm going to calm down for a second, is that I get to serve my constituents. I get to answer the phone call at 6 a.m. on Sunday, 11:30 at night on a Wednesday. I had a woman call me, lives in Greer. Her daughter had been kidnapped in Cabo. And it was a very bad 12 hours, but I was able to work with the State Department, and she literally was back in the United States in 36 hours. Her mom had her in 12. Because I picked up my phone at 11:30 o'clock at night, and because I understand how the government works, I can get results. Again, that's a Biden State Department. I cannot tell you how frustrating it is that he's up here screaming and yelling, and y'all are egging him on. His policies are not helpful to this district. His policies are wrong, and he's lying. He's taking credit for what the General Assembly did. He talks about constitutional carry. Shane Martin's been working on that bill, one of the most conservative state senators, for 14 years. Shane Martin passed a bill in the Senate, and he tried to block it. And his buddy said, this is not good enough. It went to conference. It barely passed. The author of the bill is not crediting him and his friends with the success of that bill. He's saying they're the biggest impediment to it passing, and they're just happy it passed. So I get it. You want to take credit for everything everybody does, but that's not how life works. So last, endorsements. Jim Jordan, chairman of House Judiciary, has endorsed me. Jamie Comer, chairman of House Oversight, have endorsed me. You got conservatives like Byron Donalds, Marjorie Taylor Greene have endorsed me. Because of everything I just told you, because of my record, my voting record, because of my accomplishments, because of my ability to get things done in a minority. By the way, he's in a super majority. He can't get anything done. He got one bill passed. I've given you the highlights. So because of all of that, and because I have been working to support Donald Trump for years, Donald Trump has endorsed me. And I'm going to go through. He endorsed me because of my record. He endorsed me because I've been with him for years. He endorsed me because I campaigned for him. I went and spoke in Pickens. Many of you were there. It was 150 degrees. I went and spoke in New Hampshire, where it was -10. I've crisscrossed the state. I've been in North Carolina, Georgia, to support our president. Because no matter what this person, this primary challenger says, the only person that can save our country is Donald Trump. And Donald Trump has chosen me. He wants me to help him turn this country around. And this is the best part. Adam sits here and he acts like he's some conservative warrior. He's been a never-Trumper from the very beginning. He was hey, listen, okay, hey, let's do something. That's not adult. I get it. By the way, I'm going to say this, and then Donald Trump's going to say it in a couple weeks. So I just want you to remember this moment. So in 2016, Trump's team, I wasn't there, Trump's team that was there working the floor, alleges that Adam was working with the Ted Cruz delegate unbound. So literally, he tried to steal the nomination in 2016 from Donald Trump. Hey, you don't have to believe me. Believe Donald Trump when he says it in a few weeks, because that's what's coming. All right, if that's number one. Number two, he refused to support the president. He talked to his campaign team 2 months ago. He said, I'm never going to endorse Donald Trump because it will get me votes. There are people that are not supporting Donald Trump that will support me because I don't endorse him. So, hey, you know what? Again, guess what? You can say whatever you want, but when Donald Trump says it, you're going to be looking like a fool. So let's do this. Hold on, we're not done yet. All right? So Donald Trump endorses me. He sees it coming, so he then endorses him after I shame him, after DeSantis gets out, all right? So this is the best part. This is the absolute best part. Today, his campaign alleged that Donald Trump was paid $250,000. His campaign allege that Donald Trump can be bought. His campaign, and by the way, the fact that this isn't national news yet is shocking to me, because a person running for Congress that is the chairman of the South Carolina Freedom Caucus has alleged, his campaign team has said that Donald Trump got paid $250,000 to endorse somebody. Raise your damn hand if you think Donald Trump can be bought. Raise your hand. Because where's your brother? Where's your brother? Where's your brother? Is he still here? He posted it on Facebook today. Trust me, Trump's team got it. You're all going to see it. Don't worry. You're all going to see it. So again, we want to save this country. We want to save this country. We have to have people that are effective, that have a background that gives them the ability to tackle challenging problems. Look, I've been a prosecutor for 5 years. I've started a half a dozen businesses. I've made bukus of money, and I serve in the Air Force. And I love that he gets defensive about the fact that he jokes about dressing up as a singing pirate on the weekend. But that's his background. Mine shows you that I can be effective in a minority, not even with a president that is favorable, and get things done. So look, he's going to have lies for days. We started out with the alltalkadam.com. That was our first website, but that wasn't enough. The lies that he's spewing, we have to have another one. It's allliesadam.com. So those are the two websites that every time he says something, we're going to put the truth on there. And listen, I don't even know if I'm going to end with this, because I'm so... Listen, the fact that Adam said on the radio the other day that Trump's endorsement doesn't matter. Who in this room thinks Trump's endorsement doesn't matter? Because I'll be happy to let him know that you think that. We got one. There we go. We got one. So, I'm going to finish with this because it's that important. I've been in Congress for 5 years. There's been 2,700 votes. I've missed technically 158. 136 of those were while I was on military orders at mandatory training. All right? That is my voting record. I show up, and it has been scored. I have given you the scores. Adam has missed 388 votes in 5 years. He's in a part-time legislature, and he missed 380 votes. And he's tried to lie about why I missed votes. He's tried to lie about my record. And we're not going to tolerate that because, look, I get it. I don't want to miss votes, but when the military orders me to go somewhere, I go. That's what the military's for. That's how it works. So, look, he's going to continue to say things that are not true. We are going to continue to correct the record. And I'm going to end, again, the future. The future. I am not a career politician. I am a public servant. I'm serving in the military and in Congress because I believe that I have the skills to help get this country back on track. And I think that my record shows you that I can make a difference, and my record shows you that Trump believes that I can get this country back on track with him. Adam has said he wants to be a career politician. Trust me, that's going to be out there as in a podcast. He says he wants to have a career in politics. The swamp is full of career politicians, and I can tell you this. I fund my campaign so none of you ever have to wonder who I'm making decisions to benefit. And you know what? Trump does the same damn thing, so I don't know what y'all want from me. I'm trying to help make sure that y'all get the representation that will help you make sure that this is the best place to work, to live, to raise a family, all right? And that's what I'm going to continue doing. I got 10 years in me. I'm 5 and change in. I'm going for 4 more years. I would love to earn your support. I promise you, you will know my position on everything, and I will always be available to answer your call, whether it's 11:30 on a weeknight or 6 a.m. on a Sunday, because that is what I signed up for, and I can promise you that I will do a better job at getting you the results that you need from your federal government in helping Donald Trump kick Joe Biden out of the White House, back to the old folks' home, and get our country back on track. Thank you.
So everybody, let's please give all of our elected candidates who spoke to us a really big hand. This was really, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, all of our speakers. We really appreciate your time. So The next item on our agenda is our credentialing report. We are pleased to report that we have 98 precincts represented tonight, all right, with 5 proxies. So is there any objection to to adopting the agenda by unanimous consent? Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Who moved? Who moved? Jerry Tusso? Thank you. Okay, thank you. All in favor? Right, thank you. The agenda is adopted, and our next item is the treasurer's report. What happened to Terry? Oh my gosh. Okay.
Okay, so
Oh, great. Oh, right here, sweetie.
Okay.
There you go.
all right, sorry. Let's see, are we
Okay.
doing February's
Yeah,
first?
okay.
Okay,
Come to order, please.
the beginning balance as of February the 1st was $7,819.21. As you see, the income from general donations and membership dues, it brought the total up to, for that, $502.06. Then our expenses for the meeting space, the sound tech, the rent, utilities, the insurance, the office printing, total expenses was $1,885.41, giving us an ending balance on hand of $6,435.86. Okay. Now, moving to the March. Beginning balance, $6,435.86. Our income for that month was, let's see, the membership dues was $807.20, donations $72.70. Office printing business cards was $51 that people paid for. So the income was $930.90. The meeting venue, which was the deposit for this month, came up to $350. The general liability, rent, office printing, so total expenses were $2,021.12, leaving the ending balance of $5,345.64. Okay, and that's it for the budget. Any questions? Good job. Okay.
Thank you. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is adoption of outstanding minutes. So we have minutes for October 22nd, which were provided by Joe Dill. These were sent with your meeting announcements. Is there any objection to adoption of these, approval of these minutes? Okay. All right. All in favor? Aye. The minutes of October 22nd are approved. Thank you, Joe Dill. Okay, is there any objection to approval of the minutes from the February meeting? February business meeting. Chair.
Point of order, please. Kelly Wood, Pelham Falls.
And what is your point of order? Can you state the rule that you're referencing in your point of order?
It doesn't have to do with the rule. It has to do with the minutes that we're just getting ready to approve.
October 22nd minutes, or?
No, we just did that.
Oh, the February
The
minutes.
February ones, yep. So those minutes, if everybody looks at them, they actually say that at the end of those, before we approve them, I just wanted to make this note that you guys, last meeting in February, we voted for Joe to send in his changes and for me to send in my changes for January 31st, 23. It actually says on these minutes that we were going to do that today, and yet they are not on the agenda. So I'm just wondering, are we going to follow what our actual minutes say from the February meeting? That's just my question. Because it says we were going to do that tonight. Okay, I just wanted to make sure because I didn't see it listed anywhere on the agenda before we adopted these minutes.
So
It was not, it's not direct with the January minutes. So I just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
We're voting on last minute's, February's minutes. Is there any objection to approval of the minutes from the February business meeting? Okay? All in favor? All right, excellent. February business minutes are approved. All opposed? Any opposed? Okay. Well, the ayes have it. The minutes are passed, approved. All righty. Now, next we're going to move to my chairman's report. So I'm going to step out here. I think that's right. Am I on track, Ray? Yeah. Okay. Can you guys hear okay? Yeah, this is just a couple of things to kind of keep us on track as we really need to hit the ground running and do that until November, the general election. That has to be our focus. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is what our purpose is. That's just a reminder. A couple of recent highlights on things that we've really done very well that I'm really so pleased and very grateful for you guys. Some housekeeping things, short, near, and near-term priorities, and then just a call to action that will sum it up for you guys. So what is the purpose? If you can go to the next slide, Scott. So, and that is supposed to be grass. It looks more like something else, but the whole, it's to remind us that we are a grassroots party. So the traditional purpose of the party, and that's what the purpose is to promote, of course, our philosophy, the principles, and the creed throughout the county. It's to work for the election of the party's candidates, and that's why we're all here tonight to listening. So we don't just sit and listen to this. Our job is to go and talk to voters about what these people said. So that's the other part of our job, but also increase the effectiveness of individuals in the cause of good government through political participation. So that's the job that we were elected to do, and that's why we're a reminder. And then from a grassroots standpoint, we have to spend as much time talking to voters as we do to elected officials and to candidates, because that has been the problem. That is the root cause of all of our problems, is that we do not turn out enough voters to make real changes in the elected officials. So if you could go to the next slide, please, for me, Scott. This is just to clean up some old things that we've been lingering, that've been lingering around. So if you guys recall, there were 2 motions that were passed within the last probably 6 months. They concerned 2 things. The first issue was establishing a discipline committee. And if you remember, there was a lot of discussion about establishing this discipline committee and that the chair has the right to do that. Well, if you look at Robert's rules and if you read the rules for the RNC, for the SCGOP, for all of the umbrella organizations that govern us, because we're not an autonomous group. We did not, all sprout up and make up the Greenville County Republican Party. So there are no rules that give us the substance for establishing a discipline committee. So it typically, if you look at the other parts of the party, they don't spend a lot of time on that kind of thing, because I think they're used to dealing with people that know how to behave, that you don't yell out, they don't anticipate having to manage that sort of behavior. So they don't talk about. So we are not going to establish a discipline committee. The real way that you do this is if someone misbehaves in the meeting, you actually deal with it then. There's procedures in Robert's rules for calling those people out. So there will be no discipline committee. The other issue was around this motion to say that we were required to put minutes on a website within 14 days of approval. There is nothing in the rules of the RNC, the SCGOP, the Greenville County Republican Party, or the Congressional Committee that says we even have to have a website. So there has been a lot of what I call servant leadership that some people want to turn into slave leadership, to slavery, So the reality is that if you read what the state secretary says, there are no requirements. The RNC says they do requirements for posting 30 days after they have a meeting. That's what the RNC, that's the umbrella organization. They say 30 days after we have a meeting. The state secretary of the state executive committee means we get our minutes before we go to the state meeting. The secretary of the county committee, so the rule that was used to say basically that we should meet this requirement was basically a records rule. So it's not specific to minutes, and it certainly has no language about you must do this within a certain time. And lastly, the County Congressional Executive Committee meeting, there's nothing in their language. What they said about meetings is that paragraph. So the reality is that we can do what you guys want, but that will have to be, that some people voted for it, but will have to be done as a rule. It will have to be a rule change. There's no motion that you can make that can force people to, put minutes on a website. Because as I said, we're not even, if the website disappeared tomorrow, we would still be in compliance. So that's the background on that housekeeping. If you go to the next slide. Yes.
Are you expressing Dakota Fitzgerald, Castle Rock Precinct President? Who are you?
Yeah.
Dakota Fitzgerald, Castle Rock Precinct President. Just for clarification, are you stating that there is nothing the body can vote on that the leadership will adhere to?
No, what we're saying is that the leadership is not required to adhere to improper motions. And that improper motions are made all the time. We had an improper motion made when the fraud was investigated. There was 2 motions. There was a motion to do 2 things. One motion was denied because it was improper. It is improper for a body to establish by motion rules that are inconsistent with all of the governing. You are not an autonomous group. If the RNC does not require this, the county congressional, the SCGOP. So that is the point, is you are able to establish rules consistent with the other bodies. So no, your statement is correct, but you are not able to pass motions that conflict or not are in precedence with other rules. And that
I
is
would
a
just
fact.
like to note this for the records, that when the disciplinary committee is formed, that the body votes to bring your judgment to the disciplinary committee, as you are overstepping the rights of these people who have the ability to run the GCOP. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your remarks. And now, recent highlights. So thank you guys for voting on the budget. That was a great job. I'd like to point out that Nate Lupp, who objected to voting by email, actually held our congressional committee vote by email. So thank you guys. A great job. We passed overwhelmingly on the budget. So the presidential primary was actually just such a thrilling night. I mean, it was cold, but just all of the press that we had at HQ, it was just a lifetime type of memory to think. So thank you to all the volunteers who worked hard that sent President Trump over the target. So that was great. And these are our people. A lot of you in the picture here at the airport welcoming him. I don't know if you've got to see the Legislative Action newsletter, but I would love to thank Harrison, and then I don't see Wayne, but that newsletter is just a work of art. I am just so impressed by that. So thank you. I think that's a hit for us. The zone outreach efforts, so the zone that had Curtis Loftus, that was absolutely amazing. Ooh. Crime Watch Greenville, so the concept there is how do you bring people into the party? Because, one of the big problems for the party is a lack of growth. I think Trump recognized this when the first thing that the RNC did was to talk about outreach and grassroots efforts, things that people like us have been talking about for decades, but that from the establishment standpoint is not necessarily in their best interest. So the idea of Crime Watch Greenville is that you're talking to people about something that matters to them. Because, the typical politician, it's, let's talk about me. Now, that's enough about you. Let's talk about me some more, So that's just how they roll. So the Medical Freedom Committee was that was a great spur-of-the-moment meeting that did well. And then a record number of new visitors to Coffee and Politics. So we just got to find more chairs. And I think it's the food. So next slide. Priorities. So short term. Just going to talk about this, but congressional and state conventions. So as of Friday, we had only about 20 of our 4th district people were, so all delegates, please go online and register. Please sign up. It's very important. It's, once in a lifetime event I'm really excited about doing. So please do that. And then, of course, after we have our convention, we will have the state convention May 4th. June 11th, June 11th, that's the big date. So, to then we are working our behinds off. Early voting begins May 28th. So honor the time that these candidates spent tonight with us by getting out, talking to voters, making sure we turn them out. Key legislation, crossover date is April 10th, and the session ends May 9th. If it hasn't happened by then, it's not going to happen. And be aware of things that have been passed in one part of the legislature, but not the other. If it's passed in the House, but the Senate hasn't, it's not law, and vice versa. So the reality is we have to focus on, what means something to you and I as a voter, because results is what matter to me. The priorities, near-term nonpartisan office and filing, that's a school board, so that opens at noon, July 15th, is that right? And then closes August 15th. So we have one more meeting before the primary, but we have other opportunities to have more candidates come and talk to us. Summer fund and membership drive, if Mary could talk, she would say something about that. What are our committees doing? So Joe Dill actually had a great suggestion, said people wanted to know how to get involved with committees. So we are going to ignore, we actually had a great idea, but if you think of us sort of as a startup, you try things and say, well, maybe that works, maybe it doesn't. So the reality is that we wanted to do a committee newsletter, but the committee people are so busy working, they don't really have time to tell you what they're doing. So we're going to start a new video series, and so we're going to ask committee chairs and zone leaders and then others to come forth and we'll do a quick little 5-minute video with them, and then we'll put that out, and they'll talk about what the committee does, what skills they're looking for, because they're always looking for help. So website and email upgrade, gosh, that's going to be work. And then November 5th general election. So if you look at what that person should be thinking about, it's voters, candidates, and whatever new laws are going to be implemented. Okay? So last slide. I think one more. Oh, never look back unless you're planning to go that way. Yeah. And then the last slide actually is, so there's a big prize if you know what that number is. Somebody's close. No, it has nothing, I'll give you a hint, it's about voters. Right, so if you remember, so our whole, there was that magic number about voter contacts. So every precinct is different, but if you add up the total, it's supposed to be 7, it's supposed to be the magic number that you want to touch somebody 7 times. So if you add up the number of hard R voters, and then the 7 times, and then the number of precincts. So that just gives you a kind of an idea of the magnitude of the work that we have to do. And as all politicians say, time is your enemy. So any time that we're spending not doing this, not talking to our voters, not doing that, it's like putting money in a bank that pays no interest. So that was all I had, and I'll thank you. With that, we'll turn it over to Jeff Davis for his executive committee member report. Thank you. Thank you.
Are passing around the basket. That's kind of why if you look on the finance report, we didn't really go up in our account balances.
Oh, here you go.
We didn't collect money at the church on the 5th. Last meeting we had was on February 5th at the church. Out of respect for the church, we didn't collect money there, and we didn't have a meeting last month. So as the basket goes around, this is how we fund this party. This is how we're paying for tonight. So at least try to cover what we're covering tonight. This microphone and this stuff cost an extra $250, we just found out. This is why I didn't want to have meetings here. I was more than happy to have meetings in the backyard, because guess what? Now, I haven't seen any bugs back there, even though somebody complains about bugs. But it was free or was included. And people could come out, plenty of parking, and we could socialize and be together and actually save some money. So that's what we're trying to do. So as that basket comes around, please add it, please contribute to it, or go online. Go to GreenvilleGOP.com and sign up to be a member. We've got some people, there's a smaller group of people that are paying for everything, while a few people are complaining about everything. So that's what we're trying to get out there and kind of clarify. So just be aware of that. And I know some people are being disrespectful in the back talking, but that's what we expect from a few people. Our last meeting was on February 5th, the last state EC meeting. The last state EC meeting was on Saturday, February the 10th. It was a very nonchalant, there wasn't that much going on for the meeting. Mike Voden was my proxy for that meeting because the security officer once again prevented me from joining the meeting. So we're all aware of that. And are we going to reward or award people for doing bad things by sitting there condoning that type of behavior? Some people do condone that type of behavior, but that's why we all got involved in reorg and got involved in your local party, was to sit there and stop that type of stuff. That's why we're here. That's why Donald Trump is around. That's why we got involved. That's what the November 2020 elections were about, is to expose this type of stuff out there and kind of fix that. So what was discussed at the meeting, they did go over the budget. Since we just got done passing the budget, 70% to 30%, after a lot of discussion, something that I don't think was ever done even before we got involved 3 years ago. But the budget, the budget presentation was, nobody got a copy of the budget beforehand. It was presented. They got copies, but you had to hand it back up. It was about a 10-minute discussion, and it passed unanimously. No big deal. Not a big deal. That is a multi-million-dollar budget for the SCGOP. While some people are complaining about our budget, and I just want to make reference to that, 30% voting against a budget, which is less than a Hyundai car. So for a year, so for the biggest county in the entire state of South Carolina, representing about 12% of the population, probably 15+% of the Republicans in this state. So that was part of business. Elise Stefanik, the New York congressperson, came down and spoke. I think she was attending an event for Joe Wilson. They were doing an event, I think, over in Aiken. She spoke for a few minutes. But what was the real impetus of the meeting was discussion of what's right up there, the 3rd and 4th congressional district, or actually all 7 congressional district conventions. So what's coming up in the month of April, and we certainly sent out for mySCGOP an email update letting everybody know across the state about the dates of these 7 different conventions. If you are a state delegate to the state convention out of the Greenville County GOP convention back in April, you need to sign up to go to your congressional district convention. Now, part of Greenville is in the 4th district, the vast majority. Part of us are in the 3rd district. I'm in the 4th. But you need to sign up for it, especially the America First folks out there. I'm going to give you, in 3rd district is going to be on the 13th. 4th district will be on the 20th. So time is running short. We're going to get some more updates and some more emails out there to make sure everybody's signing up. We're getting updates of who's signed up so far. But we need people to sign up to come out and vote for this leadership position. These things only happen every 4 years. What's the purpose? Not much. But the purpose is really to select delegates to go to the national convention. The state of South Carolina, back at the presidential preference primary, we voted to support Donald Trump. We have 50 delegates from the state of South Carolina that will go to the RNC, which is in Wisconsin this year, late second half of July. So of those 50 delegates, I think 47 of them will be bound to Donald Trump. I think 3 of them went to Nikki Haley. I don't know what she'll do with those, but 47 of us will get a vote for Donald Trump, and 3 people will be forced into voting for Nikki Haley. So I don't want to be on that list. But how do they pick those 50 individuals? So there's 50 delegates and 50 alternates. How do they pick those delegates? Well, each of the congressional districts will pick 3. So you pick 3 delegates and 3 alternates. So 3 times 7 is 21. The remainder of the 50 is 29. The 29 additional delegates will be selected at a state convention. That is going to be, mark your calendars, especially if you're a state delegate, for May 4th. It's a Saturday. They haven't notified us of the location, but they notified us of the date. So operative dates here, April 13th, if you live in or you're a state delegate that lives in the 3rd district. April 20th, if you're a state delegate or alternate that lives in the 4th district. And for all the state delegates and alternates, come on down May 4th, watch another convention, see how it's run, see how it's operated, and support people elect those additional 29 delegates to the RNC. Now, there are officers that will be elected as well. In the congressional districts, we will elect a chairman, we will elect a vice chair, and we will elect a secretary. That's in the rules, that's in the SCGOP rules, we have to do that. So what we were doing right now, if you want to look at, I'll tell you how the numbers work for the 4th congressional district. We are Greenville and Spartanburg. We have 90 delegates out of Greenville. 79 are for 4th District. 11 are for the 3rd District. Spartanburg has 57 delegates total. 47 are in the 4th District. 10 are in the 5th District. So this is going on in this strategy of how you count those people out and how it's all delegated out, done by numbers, it's all calculated. But for the 4th District, just to give the example, we have 126 delegates that will go to the 4th Congressional District Convention on April 20th. So half of that, 63. So guess what? What's the majority? What's half plus 1? 64. So we need 64 at least to come that are America First, that will vote for a slate that will be out there, and they promote slates. There's different slates, and we'll have an America First slate, and somebody else may have a slate or they may not. Out of Greenville, out of the 70-some-odd delegates, 79 delegates we've calculated out, we've got at least 75, 74 America First delegates. So just with Greenville, we will be able to kind of come up and vote for our slate with our America First delegates to the convention. Now, we are working with, and this is going on across the state, because this is what we really, what leaders, America First leaders, county leaders across the state are wanting to do. We want to do more with these congressional districts. We don't want to just sit there and say, oh, we're just going to give three people a title, and then let's go out and pick some delegates and do nothing for 4 more years. What we're doing, and what we're doing right now, 4th District people in Greenville are working with America First people, 4th District people in Spartanburg. This is how we're going to expand the movement across this state. This is how we're going to educate more people on how the GOP works and how we're going to get out there and meet more folks. It's not a big deal for us in the 4th District because it's just us and one other county, but look at what we got going on in the 3rd. We will send 11 delegates and 11 alternates to the 3rd District convention. Well, we'll work with Anderson and Pickens and 7 other counties to sit there and start spreading the word. Now, one of our other chairmen from another county came up with the idea, so I'll give Larry Barnett out of York County, their chairman. He's a fantastic guy. He kind of came up with this idea to start working these conventions. So this is what's going to go on. So we're going to actually grow the 4th Congressional District. We're going to focus on what the 4th District does. We're going to utilize the fact that I'm a local guy. I could care less of what goes on in Congress. The only thing I like about Congress is watching people run against each other and making me look like a nice guy. But there are some people that look at Congress and they look at what's going on up there. It does impact us. My joke is if all 7 of our South Carolina congressmen did what I wanted individually or you wanted individually, what's it going to matter? It's not going to change anything. So we need to focus local. We're focused on the precincts. But this will give us an opportunity to focus on the precincts in the 4th, focus on working with Spartanburg, focus on all the other counties that are part of the 3rd Congressional District. It's going to be a lot of fun. So if you are interested, and I've put this call out there, if you're interested in any of those top positions, the 3 positions we have to elect, if you're interested in going to the RNC, I will just tell you it's not free. It's not like, oh, you get elected to that position, and then all of a sudden, you get to go watch all the balloons drop up in Wisconsin. It's going to cost about $3,500. You're going to be responsible for that. So just realize that part. But what we will also be doing is we're going to fill in other spots. We don't have to have only 3 spots. We're going to have additional vice chairs. Harrison has said, oh, I'll be a vice chair for legislative stuff. We may need a vice chair for communications, a vice chair for events, a vice chair for outreach and membership. How do we get out there and grow that type of stuff? So that's kind of our vision for it. But if my contact's out there on the front page of the website, Jeff Davis or jeff@apacheetax.com, or just send it to team@Greenville GOP. Have any questions, let me know, and we'll be organizing that and sending out more information. Finally, I just want to say thank you. 14 days ago, I had major abdominal surgery. So, I now understand what vets and people, and I'm a healthy guy, never had any health issues before, so I now have a lot of sympathy for people that do. And certainly take pain pills and those things. I'm no longer a Tylenol addict, so I'm kind of happy to be off of that. But I'm telling you, it's crazy. But I thank you for all your prayers with people that know. We didn't tell a lot of people because, We see what happened with Presley Stutz back in 2021, the hate stuff that came in. You know, I'm fortunate that we waited till we kind of knew what situation was going to be, that we'd be okay, and you know, it wasn't going to be a big deal. You know, things to do and clean up. And I'm proud to say I've only got one piece of hate mail wishing me dead. But you know, we saw the thousands come in for Presley. So, you know, we didn't want to do that. So, but thank you for everybody that's been out there for us, and we appreciate it. And I'll hand it back over to Vaughn.
Great guy. Thank you very much, Jeff. And again, I just got an update from the SCGOP, so we do have some more people registering, but please, we can't say that enough. Let's focus. Let's get this done. Harrison, you're up next. There you go.
Thank you, man. I can still do it, though. Thank God. I can barely walk the day after, though. All right. Did y'all have a good Easter? Yes. How about y'all? I am so glad that we serve a risen Savior named Jesus and not a dead guy. Now, I want to talk a little bit. I'm going to be brief, but I want to remind y'all, what have we accomplished together here at the Greenville County GOP? About a year ago, we censured the covenant-breaking members of the Greenville County Council. And we did that together. I think only one brave fellow voted against it. But I want to remind you who we censured. Chris Harrison, Michael Barnes, Butch Curvin, Dan Tripp, Liz Seaman, and now most of them have opponents. So I'm going to talk about their opponents. First of all, Chris Harrison, the covenant breaker, has an opponent, and a great patriot by the name of Kurt McGahee. Second of all, Michael Barnes, the covenant breaker, has a constitutional conservative opponent that will hold the line against the lying tongues of Ennis Font, against Dan Tripp and Lizard Seaman. I see her like a lizard going along. And third of all, Butch Curvin. He has a great constitution. Do what, David? Oh, I'm sorry, man, and Kelly is a friend of mine. So, Michael Barnes, her opponent that we are supporting, I believe, as a whole, because she's the only one now. I could be wrong. But Kelly Long, she is a constitutional conservative that will hold the line against Ennis Fond, Dan Tripp, and the like. Next, Butch Curvin. He has an opponent in a great constitutional conservative by the name of Gary Collins. Steve Shaw, you still in the house, buddy? I think Steve Shaw slipped out, but Steve Shaw is running again for District 20. And Stan Souvlakis, hopefully going to be our next representative for what district, Stan? 22. For 22. But we got a couple of guys stepping up to take his place. They are Frank Farmer and Ethan. Ethan, I can't pronounce your last name, buddy. Sorry about that. But I've heard good things about you. All right. Next, what has the Greenville County GOP and the Legislative Committee done this year? What have you done for me lately? I don't know if y'all heard, but constitutional carry became law in the state of South Carolina. Now, where we were involved in that, at the beginning, there was a portion of constitutional carry that would have stripped away the Second Amendment rights of over 25,000 South Carolinians, and on top of it, it said that the government would go and confiscate their firearms and their ammunition. And these are law-abiding South Carolinian citizens. So we went and we met with the senators, and we said, no, we can't support constitutional carry unless it applies to all law-abiding South Carolinians. And guess what? They voted. So we helped save 25,000 South Carolinians their Second Amendment rights. Now, last but not least, or actually almost last. We want to speak about the Health Czar bill. If y'all remember, Muriel Smith, Davy Boy Hyatt, Tommy Pope, they sold our liberty for their beneficence, and they passed in the House now the Health Czar bill, which gives unlimited power to an unelected bureaucrat. Boo is right, but the good news is, thank God we got the Senate. So currently, the Health Czar bill, H 4927, sits in the Senate Medical Affairs Committee. And I want to go over a couple of things with y'all real quick so y'all know how bad this bill is. Section 44-1100 of the Health Czar bill says, all sheriffs and constables in the several counties of this state and police officers and health officers of cities and towns must aid and assist the Director of Public Health, who is the Health Czar, and must carry out and obey his orders. That's right. And listen to this part. To enforce and carry out any restrictive measures and quarantine regulations that he may prescribe. That means the Health Czar can order our sheriffs, can order the National Guard, all South Carolina law enforcement to arrest us, detain us, and put us in quarantine. And what do we say to that? Gates of hell, no. All right, that's just part of it, folks. I mean, this is how bad this bill is. Section 446-10. There is created the Department of Health Financing, which shall be headed by a director, and originally it was appointed by the governor. But guess what? They crossed through the governor's name, and they also crossed through upon advice and consent of the city, of the Senate, and now they said the director is subject to removal only by the Secretary of Health. The governor and the legislature under this legislation give up their review and advise authority to the unelected Health Czar. Is that what y'all want for the law of South Carolina? All right, you can stop it. So this is how we stop it. It sits in the Senate Medical Affairs Committee. We have Greenville senators that you need to call tomorrow morning. It could be voted on tomorrow morning after 10 a.m. These senators are Shane Martin. He's undecided, so we need to give Shane a helping hand. Vote no on the Health Czar bill. Tom Corbin, normally a staunch ally, he is undecided. Call Tom Corbin, tell him to vote no on the Health Czar bill. Mike, anybody from Anderson, I need you to call Mike Gambrell. I need you to call Richard Cash. Again, they are undecided on this Health Czar bill, which gives unlimited power. Not even the governor, not the legislature can stop it once a health emergency is declared. Tell them to vote no. Last but not least, Dwight Loftus from Greenville. I don't know where Dwight stands. Call him tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. and say, Senator Loftus, vote no on the Health Czar bill. Folks, together we can stop this. All right, last but not least, our chairman has asked me to tell a little bit about, yes, Elizabeth.
I'm sorry, Elizabeth Scott, Greenville 21. I just wondered if you could tell us what that bill number is. Is it S dot, H dot, something?
Thank you. It's H 4927, the Health Czar bill. Like I said, we can stop it. Stuart Jones, I've been working with him and the Lawrence County GOP. They have called Danny Verdon and scared the pants off Danny Verdon because he's up for re-election. They said, don't do it. We need to do the same to all of our senators, and I know you got contacts in Anderson. I need you to do the same in Anderson for us. Dan Harvell, if you're listening, brother, I need you to make phone calls to Richard Cash and Mike Gambrell. Tell them to vote no on the tyrannical Health Czar bill, H 4927. Last but not least, S 1046. That is called the Judicial Reform Bill. Currently, it passed the Senate I believe it passed 44-0 it passed the Senate. It now sits in the House. Adam's busy talking. But anyway, it sits in the House Judiciary Committee. I spoke with Joe White this evening from the Freedom Caucus. I said, Joe, what do you think about this bill? Joe said, well, there's a lot of bad parts in it. But, Adam, do you feel that bill can be amended to make it somewhat good, or no? Awesome, awesome. So, if the Freedom Caucus and those standing with him, and I'm going to call out names, David Vaughn from Simpsonville, Mark Willis from Fountain Inn, and these are people that you can call. Brucey Bannister here from Greenville. Give them a call. When Adam puts up these amendments, say vote for the Freedom Caucus amendments. This is, and Yvonne said it tonight, crossover I think is April 9th, is that right? April 10th. So if we're going to get it passed, we got to get it passed by then if I'm not mistaken. And we can do it. So S10... Adam, Yvonne would like to know a couple of the amendments that y'all are going to offer.
Any relatives, like spouses, if family members can't run for judge because that's been a perennial issue, we're going to try to come to the microphone.
Yes, come to the microphone, please.
Come to the mic. What's the bill number?
The bill number, Susanna, is S as in Senate 1046. It is the only judicial reform bill that might pass this year. And it sits in the House Judiciary Committee right now.
The main one that I know will not pass, but we're going to force the vote on it, is to get rid of lawyer legislators off the Judicial Merit Selection Committee, because that's the problem. These guys pick the judges that they then go and practice in front of. But we're going to have a lot of other ones that would get rid of nepotism, get rid of conflicts of interest, and I think total is like 4 or 5 amendments. And I do actually think some of them have a very good shot of passing. There are a lot of people in the broader Republican caucus who are very supportive of judicial reform, even some Democrats, because they've seen just the travesties of justice that's been going on. So.
And Adam, while you're there, I think on behalf of all of us, we need you to amend. I want you to tell you a bad section that is in S1046. It's section 219-10. It says the governor must consider race, gender, national origin, and other demographic factors to ensure non-discrimination in his appointments. We want that amended. We want that removed. And
that's
Adam,
DEI right there. That's DEI in the legislation.
I mean, seriously, DEI, they're trying to legislate DEI into our judicial merit selection process.
And Harrison, actually, it's already passed the Senate, so it could be taken up after. It doesn't have to pass this week,
so,
specifically,
the
the Senate
will
version, because it's crossed over, the Senate bill.
It has already crossed over before the line. Thank you, Adam. All right. Well, folks, remember, how do we get things done together? I'm sorry, do what? Who wrote the bill? Do you know, Adam, in the Senate?
I think is it a Wes Clymer?
Yes, it was. I did see that. Yes, Wes Clymer, who is not a friend of liberty. Or I take that back. Wes Clymer is. My bad. Sorry about that. I was thinking of Wes Newton. Wes Newton is not a friend of liberty.
Wes Clymer is the one that literally stopped judicial elections and said, we're done. They will not occur until you actually push judicial reform, which is the only reason it's happening. So kudos to him and the Senate getting some guts.
I get those two Wes's mixed up occasionally. All right, well, folks, like I said, make some phone calls tomorrow morning. Tell your senators, Dwight Loftus, Shane Martin, Tom Corbin, vote no on the Health Czar bill. Thank you all very much.
Great job, Harrison. Thank you.
I think that's your stuff.
Yeah. Huh? Oh, yeah. Is break? We only have one more speaker, which is Stefan. So we're in a 5-minute break and then come back to Stefan, or soldier on. Okay. Okay. Go. You can take a break. Okay, Stefan, we're going to just soldier on so we can finish up. So if you could come up and give us got the most important thing of the night is talking about candidates, helping candidates. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Can you guys hear it?
Good afternoon, everybody. All right, so we have a great list of candidates out here. And first, I want to thank the committee. I want to thank Joe Dill for all his advice. Jim Slice, is he here? Jim, and I want to thank Darius Hall. Darius Hall, he's not here. I want to. Hey, Miss Hershey, how you doing? All right, I want to thank everybody that has worked so hard to vet these candidates, to be able to spend time and get to know candidates. We have a couple of candidates here tonight, and I ask that you will spend time with these candidates. I ask that you will go door knocking with the candidates. I ask that you will give them back their paperwork in which we can keep track of who we reached out to help the candidates as well as to help the party. We also ask that you volunteer to help the candidates. I mean, we have great candidates, but they need help with canvassing, phone calling, and a whole host of things. Just reach out to the candidates. We're working to get the list of candidates put on the website. We're working with the executive committee to get that done. So we're also reaching out to anybody that wants to be a candidate, you know, that might want to be a candidate or sound like they're tired of what's going on. We're reaching out to everybody to say, if you know somebody that want to run, get them to us. My email is S as in Sam, D as in Delta, M as in man, 1911@hotmail.com. Or you can reach out to my phone number is 803-479-0844. So if you know somebody, we have a sign outside the headquarters that said if you want to be a candidate. We've had about 12 people reach out to us from there. So if you want to refer people to the headquarters, they do a great job of forwarding them over to me. I really appreciate it. But I'm not going to keep you long, but I really wish that you would reach out to our candidates and help them out in any way that they need. Thank you so much.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion, and I'd like to give you a copy of it. My name is Jonathan Bright. I'm the Mountain Creek EC.
Well, we haven't finished the old business yet.
Okay. I'd like to be the first person on the new business. Thank you.
So the old business is actually pretty simple. I think I gave you the background about the chair's rulings on why we had 2 improper motions entered. So those were the rulings there. I think there was one thing omitted, that there was an amendment so there are minutes of 1/31/23 that have been brought up for discussion. Those minutes have been approved, but there was a suggestion or a request that the budget, the actual physical copy of the budget, be removed from those minutes because there was a claim that it was not presented. So that request was denied because that is inaccurate information. The budget was presented, so that is why that item is not on the agenda. And that concludes the old business.
I have a point of information for that old business.
Yes.
So at our last meeting, we approved, Kelly Wood, Pelham Falls, thank you. We approved those minutes with the condition that we would provide the changes to our body this meeting, okay? You asked me to submit them, and you asked Joe Dill to submit them. Now, Joe Dill submitted an entire page of changes because you asked him to go watch the 3-hour video to try and make those changes because none of that business had been included in the original minutes.
Excuse me, can I clarify? Joe Dill worked on minutes of October 22nd. We are
Correct.
talking about 1/31/23.
Both of these sets of minutes were brought up at the last meeting, okay? Joe Dill, can you confirm that you were tasked with watching that video prior to the last minute to make that creation of all of that business that was left off the original minutes?
That was October 22nd.
Okay. Hang on, I'm establishing a pattern, if you can bear with me. Sorry, I'm trying to establish a pattern so you guys can follow along. So Joe Dill had to watch the video. Okay? You asked him to? Joe Dill, were you asked to watch that video? Okay. So my point in saying that is, do we have a video of January 31st, 23 that I can watch or someone can watch to say what actually happened during that meeting? Because there is not one on YouTube. My claim is if we accepted Joe's changes based on watching the video, why not accept my changes on watching a video? If you are going to categorically, unilaterally decide as a board that my changes are not accurate, Mr. Parliamentarian can say whether the board has unilateral authority to do that.
Your changes conflicted with the minutes of the meeting.
The minutes are inaccurate. That is my point. Mr. Sheen, would you like to weigh in on this, please?
Okay.
The minutes, the minutes were approved, but you had objections to the minutes. And were they voted on? I'd have to look at the records. Were the minutes voted on by the entire body with your changes incorporated or not incorporated?
No, at the last meeting, we voted, Mr. Dill made a motion to approve outstanding minutes. That body, this body voted to do that. And then both Joe and I said we have amendments to those minutes.
Right.
And we were told at that meeting we needed to provide those changes and we would deal with it at this meeting.
Okay.
People needed to
So we're
see
now-
the amendments before
I
they-
handed
Right.
those in to Angie on February 11th. She
Okay.
has those changes, and you did not put them on the agenda for the body to see, please.
So but your question right now is there a video of that meeting so that we could watch it and determine?
I'm just trying to apply the same logic that you
I
guys did
understand.
with that.
I understand what you're trying to do. My question would be, do we have video of that meeting? I don't know.
I've searched for 9 months for it. I cannot find it.
It was a Zoom meeting, so I don't know if we have the video.
So what proof do we have that something happened if the board is
Okay.
saying it did and we have lots of ECs who say the other, contradict that?
We have 45 people that voted. So what you're saying is that 45 people, are you saying that 45 people who voted for the budget did not see the budget?
No.
Would anybody in this room who voted on that budget January 31st, 23, who can testify and would be willing to stand up and say no budget was presented other than a verbal sentence that it was going to be the same as the year before, can you please stand up? I'm not going to say that. I'll say the opposite. So you're going to show me proof that a budget was presented on January 31st? Nope, it was not in the call to meeting email.
Okay. At this point, we have obviously two different views of what happened at that meeting. If there is no documented record.
I have documented record
I'm
proving
sorry,
the opposite.
if there's no video documented record because there's other people who remember it differently. So we have two different memories of that meeting.
No. I have documented emails, Mr. Sheen. Documented emails saying the opposite of that.
Of the January meeting?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I've not seen those, so I can't rule on that.
I did send you a number of things
You sent me
this
in-
last
but I don't-
week.
Yes, you did, but I don't recall seeing a minutes. I didn't recall seeing your minutes of that meeting, so.
May I read this for the record? This was, okay, sorry, I'm going to let you go ahead and rule on that. So does the board have unilateral authority to say something happened themselves when that is not discussed on the floor?
Is this talking about 2023 or 2022?
2023.
2023, we're talking January 2023, so we're
And
talking
for
about.
all of you in here who do not think this is important, it is important to have an accurate record reflected on everything that we do. I know it seems trivial.
We got 0 records when we took over. Where are all those records?
I'm not talking about a previous administration. I'm talking about our administration.
Okay.
Our current body
let-
negates that.
Let's
okay?
stop.
Okay,
So-
come to order.
Okay. As a parliamentarian, I'm not, I do not agree that the board can unilaterally throw out a motion. Now, what we need to do, though, is there was a motion made that your comments would be provided. Those comments can be voted on. Now, if the body votes to approve those, they go in the minutes. If the body votes not to approve those, then the minutes would stand as they are.
So my question is, why were my minute changes not included on this agenda? Just like you did for Mr. Dill.
Because there was 1 minute change that deleting the budget.
So that doesn't mean you show the
Okay.
body what the changes were?
So, well, let's, what,
It's not correct.
What is the change? Is it only the
gonna
one
sit there and do
change?
this?
Is that the only change that you have?
I have a plethora of emails. I have screenshots. I have other proof that
I'm asking you, what change do you want to have voted on?
I would like to have the budget removed from that meeting because it was not provided until September 24th. We went 9 months without
Okay.
ever seeing that budget.
We're just trying to determine what
That-
change do you want, and what
I want-
wording change do you want, and you want the wording to remove the.
No, the whole budget. It's
That's what I'm
attached to
saying.
it.
You want the minutes to remove the wording that the budget was included.
I want the wording to say to as presented. The wording says as presented. Take those words out.
Take out the
Strike
words
those words
as
as
presented.
presented, and take the budget off the minutes because it was
Okay.
not a part of that meeting.
So that's.
Presented that way.
That is the motion that you are making.
Yes, because we were not
Okay.
presented the budget.
Is there a second to that motion? Okay, there's a second. We could have a vote now on that motion of
We already
approving
did
that.
a vote. Well, I'm not even
Not
gonna
of
go
that
there.
particular motion. So you're.
Okay. So
Can we have discussion about that so people can provide proof?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have a motion on the floor to remove the budget from January 23rd.
Nope,
What-
January 31st.
January 31st, 2023 minutes, to remove the words as presented and to remove
I know.
the actual copy of the budget. So that we have a motion and it's been seconded. Is there any discussion?
I would like to speak in behalf of that, please, as the person who brought the motion. It would be nice if you didn't roll your eyes, because this is really important to have a correct record.
I'm not
So-
rolling my eyes, so don't be paranoid. Okay, come to order, please. Go ahead, Kelly.
Yes, thank you for reminding people of that. It's important to respect people at the microphone, even when you disagree.
Can we have your motion, please?
I don't have a motion speaking in
Okay, can we have
support
your
of the
support?
motion, okay? I have emails starting the day of that meeting, January 31st, 23, ECs asking to see a budget. Did not receive it. I have an email on February 9th from Mr. Davis saying, y'all, we have been previously provided with the budget and an extensive PowerPoint last year. That would have been 10 months before that. Not a single person emailed or called about the budget prior to the meeting. Not correct. Judy Tanzola did do that, who's an EC. So we did not resend it. The budget did not come in the call to meeting email. It was not sent out to ECs who are asking for it. I have a precinct who asked 8 times between January 1st and September 14th, the date of our special meeting, 8 times. And you know what they were told? We don't have a budget. We're working on a budget. The Finance Committee is working on a budget. We'll get it to you when it's done. Now, if we had a budget, don't you think that could have easily been sent out to the ECs instead of all the different answers that we received? And then I asked for the minutes of that meeting because I wanted to see what the minutes reflected. Okay, so this is my point. The minutes of that meeting, there was no budget presented. I was told by Mr. Davis in July, 6 months later, those minutes were being worked on. So did they exist or not exist in July? I was told then by Mrs. Angie Fisher in August. She would have to check with the previous secretary. A week later, she checked with the previous secretary. She emailed me and said, we don't have those minutes. We didn't retain them. And then I have an email from you, Yvonne, in September saying, we don't have to retain them because we don't have a records retention policy. Okay? Now, that is not true. Rule 4A5 says the officers will keep a copy of all pertinent records. So, when you say there's not a records retention policy, that contradicts our Greenville County Rule 4A5. So this is, okay, we had the meeting in January. These are all emails that happened in the 9 months after that meeting saying the opposite, that we didn't have a budget and we didn't have the minutes to prove that, okay? So For anyone who's been asking, I've been trying to get those minutes corrected for 9 months. I've been trying to see the budget for that long, okay? So this isn't something that we haven't been working on behind the scenes. We've been trying behind the scenes. And I have all of that. If we have to send it out to all the ECs with proof, I can do that.
I think people are ready to vote, but I would say, but I would like to add that normally a records retention policy, in my mind, refers to how long you retain records over time. And I actually had a copy of those minutes. That's what I sent you. So
You did not send me minutes.
No,
You
I
actually
sent
told me the opposite
no,
of
I
that.
sent you, what did I send you last night, Kelly?
You sent me the minutes. I'm talking about when you answered me in August, Yvonne, and September, 9 months after the meeting. You told me no, that we didn't have them.
Well, I may have not.
Do you want to see the email? I do have it.
Yeah, okay, well, that's fine.
So you're going back on your word. Angie's going to go back on her word. You guys, the board told us that there were no minutes.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
On August the 31st, after I did tell, what was her name?
My president, Jean
Tennant,
Tennant.
that we did not have those, Janice re-looked, and she found them, and she sent them, and I have the email.
Well, I would love to see that because you told me today that you never got them from, you told me in August that you never got them from Janice.
I didn't get them from her then.
What? But she told Doug Edwards, would you like to come up to the microphone and say when you actually talked to Janice?
I think people are ready to vote. Call the question, yeah. Or, yeah, go ahead.
Doug has important information that I think you would like to hear.
Well, Chair recognizes Doug Edwards and then Elizabeth Scott.
Doug Edwards, Bridge Fork. I asked Janice about the records in her tenure as secretary, and she told me on the phone that she had turned all those records over to the board, and that's all she told me. She didn't say what she turned over, but that she turned over everything she had, according to what she said.
Did she say when she turned them over?
She told me this in January of this year, 17th.
Thank you. Elizabeth Scott is recognized.
The email that I actually found came from Mitch, who was our rules chairman at the time, and he was discussing the fact that we were doing a continuing resolution to last year's budget in 2023. And I certainly have last year's budget the 2022 budget that we passed. So based on this email, which Kelly actually, it looks like might have been copied on as well, the complaint was that it was the wrong way to budget. We needed to do our own new budget. But according to this email, which I'm happy to share with anybody who wants to see it, we were doing a continuing resolution. I received it on January 31st.
Thank you.
Elizabeth, it provided no numbers. There were absolutely no numbers for ECs to look at.
Okay.
And
You've had you've spoken twice in support of the motion, Kelly.
would anybody else like to come up and speak in support of this or negate this?
Did someone call the question?
Any EC who was one of the 22 ECs who voted no because of this reason?
You, Kelly, you do not. Did I hear a motion to call the question?
Table. Motion to table.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Chair recognizes.
Debbie McCollin,
Debbie McCollin.
President, Greenville 1.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm doing this the right, but I'd like to make a suggestion or second the motion to table all past conversations about budget, but make sure we have a standard of presenting any conversation about this moving forward. So this doesn't continue. Table any conversation relating to past budgets, but make sure that this never happens again.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll call the question. Chair recognizes Tiffany Frohock, EC.
My name is Tiffany Mock. I'm the Frohock EC. I think the point.
The parliamentarian has just advised that we cannot table.
This is a motion we need to take action.
We need to take action, so we're going to.
Table from last meeting.
Right. We're going to.
I think the point that we're trying to make is that we want our minutes to reflect what happened. Mrs. Wood has presented to the body and to the officers that the email that was sent to everybody telling about the Zoom meeting on 131 did not include a picture of the 2022 budget proposal.
Not disputed.
Right. So we also read an email from the chairman at that time saying that they did not rescind that image, which is the 2022 budget proposal. So again, the body that was asked to vote on continuing the 2022 budget into the 2023 year never saw the 2022 budget proposal image. So it should not be included in the minutes for 1/31/23. That's all we're saying. We're just saying, make sure that the minutes are accurate. We understand where you were coming from. You were saying it was a continuation. We are saying we never saw the budget, which is why many of us voted no, which is why Sean Miller emailed the current chairman asking for the budget earlier and then got on the Zoom call asking for it, which is why he's mentioned in the minutes. So the budget was not presented to the body. We were told it was a continuation of 2022, but we never saw that budget. Neither did we see any numbers relevant to 2023, which included reorg and memberships and all that stuff. So I don't think we're asking for a crazy thing to just like, don't include something that wasn't part of the discussion.
Chair recognizes
Heather Sheen, Clear Creek Precinct. Would it solve the problem if we leave the budget attached to the minutes, but simply add an addendum saying that this was attached later? I don't know what the proper wording would be, but say, you know, this was not presented at the time of the meeting, but we have attached it for reference, for future reference.
I would add to that that it was the same body that voted for the 2022 budget that also voted for the 2023 budget, and therefore we already had the budget.
So we need to, is there further debate, because we need to take a vote on the motion. We need to vote on the original motion before we make any changes or suggestions. So is there further debate or further questions on this motion to remove? So call the question. So are we ready to vote? Okay. All in favor of removing? The motion is to remove a copy of the 2023 budget. Go.
Point of order. If we are able to pick this up from last time, we should be able to amend it also and finish this business,
Well, we
right?
have a
So
new
I should be
motion.
able to make an amendment on this motion before we vote on it. Is that correct? Well, I think the body can vote. Well, if I can offer an amendment, the body can vote on whether or not to amend, right? Or do we? You want me to ask for a friendly amendment?
Is it a friendly amendment or is it?
Well, it can be a friendly amendment. Where'd Kelly go?
What is the amendment?
The amendment would be that we, I'm sorry, the amendment would be that we would make a note on those minutes that the budget was not formally presented since this body already had it, and therefore was attached just to show what the body was voting for. Does that make sense?
Wait.
I will only accept that friendly amendment if it's stated that it was attached on September 24th, 23, or later, because that is when it was attached. It was not attached to those minutes. It was not part of that meeting from January to September. Does that make sense? So if the correction is very clearly seen on there that this budget was attached to these minutes on September 24th, 23, and not sooner, because it wasn't, then I'm okay with that amendment. If not, then I will reject that amendment.
Okay, so we restate so what is the wording of the motion?
The wording of the the wording of the motion is I move to adopt my changes. One of them, by the way, was to fix Sean Miller's name change, but take the words as presented out of the minutes. That's what that was my whole point. Is they were supposed to be shown to the body and they weren't.
Well, you can state this is not. You can read this. You can read this. So we can. You can read the motion.
It's on your minutes, guys, from February 5th. Like, read that paragraph.
Right.
What my changes were is written right there. So strike the words as presented, and then on the top of that budget, not at the bottom, on the top so people see it, this budget was attached to this meeting on September 24th, 23.
But the question remains, what did 44 people vote on?
Thin air. We voted on being told verbally, listen, wait, I'm not saying that to be rude, okay? Hear me out. We were told verbally that it was
You did not vote for it. So I'm talking about the 44 people that voted.
I did vote. I voted no.
Well, yeah, but I'm talking about the people who voted in favor, Kelly. You're saying that 44 people voted yes in favor of something they did not see.
Well, that is correct.
Which I find it's incompetent. But go ahead. Okay, so we'll vote on the motion. Go ahead. Proceed with your motion.
So I stated the motion that those changes be adopted. Okay?
With the caveat that September 24th.
Yeah.
Okay.
With the words as presented, struck from the record, and that a statement on top of the budget is saying this budget was attached to these minutes on 9/24/23 and not the date of the meeting.
Okay, so
that's the motion.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you. Is there a second? Oh, a second. Okay. Okay. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? No.
Is this new business yet?
Sorry. Sorry, can you? Yes, so the motion has not passed, so those changes will not be added to the minutes. Okay? Now, new business, yes. Sir, please. New business. Chair recognizes.
Jonathan Bright, Mountain Creek, EC.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I'd like to present this motion, and then I would like to request for a roll call vote at the end. Okay. All right? Madam Chair, I move that the body calls for the immediate resignation of Jeff Davis as State Executive Committeeman and relinquish all duties and data associated with the Greenville County Republican Party. Whereas GCRP Rule 4C.2 states, quote, the County Executive Committee may remove any appointed county party officer at any time. It may fill any vacancy in county party offices by majority vote of the legal votes, end quote. Whereas Jeff Davis cannot represent Greenville County Republican Party as State Executive Committeeman and denies a qualified candidate and our party a seat at the table. And whereas Jeff Davis is currently banned from attending any South Carolina Republican Party functions, and whereas Jeff Davis caused the 2023 GCRP to be organized by the SCGOP due to multiple rule and party violations as GCRP chair. And whereas Jeff Davis continues to cause an atmosphere of hostility and division in the GCRP and leads a competing organization, mySCGOP, in conflict of interest. And whereas Jeff Davis does not support the SCGOP or its mission and duly operates the GCRP and mySCGOP, including using GCRP data and GCRP reorgs to gain support and grow his personal special interest, nonprofit mySCGOP throughout the state. And whereas Jeff Davis has doxed members' confidential contact information by posting it on social media in an effort to bully and harass members who raise legitimate questions or concerns. And whereas Jeff Davis issued no trespass notices on GCRP's headquarters to 3 ECs out of, quote, retribution, end quote. Further, disregarding the body's ruling to remove these notices, Mr. Davis engaged the police when 3 of those he had issued no trespass notices peacefully attended a meeting at headquarters. And finally, whereas the SCGOP Executive and SCGOP Rules Committee has voted and approved these standing conditions, and he is unable to perform his duties as GCRP State Executive Committee person, now therefore be it resolved that the Executive Committee of the GCRP calls for the immediate resignation of Jeff Davis and relinquishment of all his duties associated with the GCRP. Thank you.
Is there a second? Okay. And we're having a roll call vote?
No, can we have a conversation?
Okay, I'm sorry, is there? Okay.
Is there a quorum?
I've just reviewed the Greenville County rules. I've just reviewed the Greenville County rules, and we do not have, the EC body cannot vote to remove an elected officer. The elected officer may choose to resign, but we do not have to remove an elected officer.
The SCGOP.
The Greenville County GOP cannot remove one of those 3 elected officers by vote.
My motion still stands. I vote to call for the resignation of Jeff Davis.
Yeah, so your motion, because your motion violates the party rules, it is out of order.
I would be happy to strike the rule.
Well,
My motion still stands, ma'am. You need to vote on my motion.
No, we will not vote on a motion. It's not accept because it is out of order. It is an improper motion. You cannot, the body is not able to put forth motions that violates its own rules, as we discussed earlier with several of the other motions. Chair recognizes.
You're both partially correct, just for information purposes. The body cannot remove someone elected in convention.
Come to. Okay, let's come to order, people. Are you an EC?
Nate Lloyd, Montague, you are partially correct. You cannot remove someone elected at a convention. You can only ask for the resignation. You can't force a resignation. So that is it's not out of rule to ask for someone's resignation. You can't force them to resignate. Yes, sir. Correct. You cannot force them. Yes, correct.
Thank you. Okay. So is there a second to the motion? Who was it? Okay. All in favor?
I asked for a roll call.
What?
Roll call vote, ma'am.
Oh, roll call. So we have to vote on, do we have a quorum to vote on the roll call? Oh, good. No, to vote, there's a request for a roll call vote. No, for a roll call vote. We're just doing a roll call vote. Okay. So we just.
Do we have enough people? What are we voting on?
We're voting on asking for Jeff's resignation.
Well, we want more people.
Oh.
We want all these.
Okay, one at a time, guys. Okay.
I'd just like to make the request, before we vote, let's name Greg Crum, EC Greenbrier. Let's state.
Please, people.
Let's state exactly what we are voting on and what a yes response means and what a no response means. Thank you.
Good point. Thank you. We will. Thank you.
My name is Susana Sarabia. I'm with Thornblade. I'm the Thornblade EC. Since we are so much about transparency and about pennies and dimes, but we don't care about the quorum right now, I want every EC here to make a vote and a roll call. If we don't have enough people, we shouldn't even vote, since we want transparency. We don't want somebody, well, we don't want everybody to be upset, because.
But we do have 25.
We have 25, okay.
25. Okay, so do we have so we did have a motion for a roll call vote. It's yeah. Okay, so we have a motion for a roll call vote. Did we have a second? Who moved for it? Well, I think the roll call vote is included in his motion requesting the resignation. Okay, so do we have a second? Okay. So all in favor of a roll call vote? All right, all in favor of a roll call vote, say aye. Aye. What? we're voting on the roll, right now, we're voting on the roll call vote only. There was a request for a roll call vote. So all we're voting on right now is having a roll call vote. So all in favor of a roll call vote, say aye. All opposed? No. So the noes have it. We will not have a roll call vote. And we still will vote on the motion. So the motion is put forth, and is that the body will ask for Jeff Davis's resignation for the reasons that were stated in the motion, but keep in mind that no matter what the vote is on the motion, that it has no authority, because Jeff Davis is an elected official and cannot be removed by this body. So is that clear? Are there any questions? Okay. You have to come to the mic, please.
Nathan Dye,
Okay.
Botany Woods.
Are you an EC?
No.
Well. Well, then you don't, I'm sorry, you're not
Okay.
allowed to speak on the motion. Okay. Is there any further debate on the motion to ask for Jeff Davis's resignation?
My name is Tiffany Mock. I'm the Frohawk of EC. I just want to make the point that if Mr. Davis cared about this body, he would have resigned already. We have the right to be represented at the state EC. Yeah, I'll just wait for you to bring them to order. Okay, remember, Mr. Davis sent out a mySCGOP email telling us we have to have decorum.
Well, please caution the young lady, we do not use names. You are talking about our state EC. It is inappropriate to constantly refer to individuals' names per Robert's Rules of Order. So please continue.
I didn't mention, okay, well, whatever. Anyways, we have the right to be represented at the state EC meetings. We should not have to hear secondhand information. If he does not resign, then our proxy should be speaking to us and reporting us the meeting. But if Mr. Davis actually cared about the body, he would have resigned already. That's my point.
Okay. Chair recognizes, come to order, please. Chair recognizes Deborah, what's your precinct, Deborah? Saluda.
Lamore Saluda precinct. Jeff Davis has built 99% of everything you see that we've accomplished. He is not able to go to the meeting as a state EC because there's a vendetta in our state house against Jeff Davis, which is improper. It should be illegal that he doesn't get to show, because we elected him to be there. So they have.
Come to order. We have a speaker at the mic.
We elected him as our state EC. It was official. They are acting illegally themselves at the state level. That's it. It's illegal what they're doing. So we're going to penalize Jeff Davis? No, we're not.
Thank you. Okay, come to order.
Mike Voden, Walnut Springs, and the proxy at the state meeting. I just want everybody to know that both Yvonne and I go to every one of these meetings. We take very copious notes. Jeff comes along because we don't want him to not try to get in because he was elected. He is our state EC. The state is not behaving in the right way. That's right. But you are getting all the information, and Yvonne and I do speak pretty freely at the state meeting. So you are represented. I want you to know that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You've already spoken. Are you speaking in favor of the? Because
Just, I want to clarify something. My name is Tiffany Mock, Frohawk EC. I just wanted to clarify that we, the people of the GCRP, we built this body. We are the Republican Party. Jeff Davis is a part, but he did not build 99% of this. We built it through our efforts. I'm going to wait for Susanna to stop talking.
Okay, sure, okay.
Just like Obama said, we didn't build that, I'm going to clarify. He didn't build all of it. We built it together. We do the work of the party. It is not one man. It is not about characters or personalities. We are the GCRP. not Jeff Davis. He's part of it, but he isn't the GCRP. And that is the problem with this group that gives authority to somebody that he doesn't have. We have the authority of the GCRP. We, the executive committee.
Thank you. Is there any further debate?
You know, every time, I'm sorry, Elizabeth Scott, Greenville 21, every time I vote for anybody.
Okay, excuse me.
Every time I take the time to think about an issue or a person, and specifically a person to vote for to represent me, I am selecting the person that I think can represent me the best. This body came together and chose Jeff Davis to represent them the best as our EC. And I don't understand why this body would consider changing their mind because the state party is incapable of following Robert's Rules of Order, which is what has happened.
Is there any further comment? Call the question? Right, exactly. We're calling the question. Well, Jerry Tuso, all in favor of asking for Jeff Davis, our state EC's resignation, please raise your hand.
Maybe raise the badges.
Raise your badges, and your EC or president only can vote.
You need to take a picture of this.
Okay, settle down, people. Settle down. It's almost time to go home. Settle down, people. Okay.
This definitely is not going very well, is it? Get out of here. Come on, people, settle down.
Thank you. Badges down. Okay. All opposed? Well, we still have a quorum.
That was good, I'm glad, thank you. Great. Jeff is the best leader we've ever had.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, sorry. Don't count me. No time, no time. Okay. Okay. So I'll let our teller committee announce the results.
Testing. Okay. The results were 23 in favor of the motion and 45 opposed.
Okay. Okay. Well, with that, our business is concluded. Is there a motion to adjourn? Very good. Great job, you guys. Thank you, everyone, for hanging in there. We appreciate it. Yeah, very. Oh, and I gotta contribute.